What is up, everyone? What is up? Just came back from a work party because one of the people on my team is leaving for another opportunity elsewhere, and we all like them. Not gonna be it's not gonna be the same without him. He was a big reason why I even got the CISSP certification. We took classes together, we got our cert together, and he was a good friend, coworker, and inspiration for me to see how I wanted to chart my path. But he was also the most senior member on the team, gave me a lot of knowledge and everything. So I'm gonna miss him. We still got, you know, each other's contact information and everything. So it's unfortunate, it's bittersweet, but that is life. That is the way life goes, unfortunately, sometimes, or fortunately. I'm happy for him. It's bittersweet. Because, you know, he's going to be moving to a different state for this opportunity and everything. But it's life. What's up, Jay? Did you hear Proton has a Bitcoin wallet now? I did not, nor did I really care to look into it much. Let me see. I know they accepted Bitcoin. Let's see. What? Here's the thing. Okay, let's see. So it's just a software wallet. Whoop-de-doo, Basil! Just another damn wallet. I'm gonna be honest and say why. Like, let me preface this with, I like Proton. Do not get me wrong. I like what they do. But, this makes no sense to me. Hardware wallets are the future. Hardware wallets are, you know, a few years old now. You should be using hardware wallets. Not only that, I'm not sure I would be very happy with a cryptocurrency wallet directly tied to my Proton email. As it is, I already use aliases for when I'm using Coinbase and a couple other exchanges in the past. But yeah. So they have it. I don't see the point in me personally looking into it, because if you're at the point where you're looking into wallets, go get a hardware wallet. You don't know how to get into your old wallet? The same way as every other wallet. Remember that seed phrase that it generated when you created the wallet? You need that seed phrase. If you don't have that seed phrase, I don't know what to tell you. You're shit out of luck, buddy. That's just the honest truth. How to run Adobe Audition on Manjaro. You don't. You get DaVinci Resolve. DaVinci works on Linux. Now, I don't know about specifically on Manjaro. They normally package it for RHEL types, Red Hat Enterprise Linux, but there are scripts out there to take the installer for DaVinci and Debianize it, because I use Debian type Linuxes. So just move your workflow over to DaVinci if you're doing content creation and everything. The honest truth is, I do all of my content creation for long form content. I'll soon be moving the short form stuff too. Linux. I use Kdenlive for all of my editing. I probably will be using CapCut online. I gotta play with it for the short form content. Audio, not video. Well, if you're doing audio, then you've got Audacity and a bunch of other tools like LLMS and a bunch of other things like that. But, Adobe products don't work in Linux. And that's on them. But to be fair, Adobe's kind of shit in many ways, so I would look at different alternatives. Sorry if I'm eating right now. I came back in late, and I had I went out drinking with coworkers. Because we were giving a send-off to one of my friends and coworkers there. Hola, mostly harmless. How you doing? Over on the YouTube side. How do you make your own private Wi-Fi? I mean, You just plug in a wireless router. You want to make it even more private? Remove that Wi-Fi router from the internet. Now your Wi-Fi is totally private. It sees nothing. That's a joke. Well, I'm joking, but that is a truth. Where else do you stream? So I simulcast to TikTok, Twitch, and YouTube. TikTok is by far, of course, my largest audience. I think I'm closing in at close to 380,000 followers, give or take. And then YouTube's at 2,500. Twitch is at 1,431. Hold on. YouTube is 2,520. Twitch is 1,431. I got this little clock here that actually tells me. And I got 378,527 followers on TikTok. So if you're not seeing what I'm pointing at, there's this little... Here, I can probably move it over a little bit. I got this as a sample to try out. The camera does not like it with the light. Here, hold on. Can I turn off the light for a second? On shotgun. Alright, let's turn off the light for a sec, see if that helps. Nope. But anyway, these are little LCD screens with like pixel art on them. So I can get live updates of what's going on. Like I can even see live how many people are watching on Twitch. So lower exposure. So I'm moving on to a different camera. This is the OBS Bot Tiny 2, which is a nice camera, don't get me wrong. But it has its limitations. So I am working on some upgrades. I'm hoping that I have some time this Saturday to finally set things up. So I've got the Elgato arm, the extension arm, so I can move the teleprompter that I'm adding on top of the arm a little bit more forward to make space for the Sony ZV-E10 camera I'm going to put behind it. Then, what I'm going to be doing is... Where's the remote for the OBS bot cam? I've been in the middle of cleaning up my desk and moving things around very, very slowly. Oh, there it is. So I can move the camera over. So right here, I have an arm that I'm prepping to turn the OBS bot camera, this is on, into an overhead camera with the idea that we'll have top-down views, as well as you can obviously see, I can move the camera around, for different types of content and stuff, so when we're tinkering and everything, we can show that off. Because I like the OBS Bot Tiny 2, but the issue is, I've noticed, when I was recording YouTube videos, if there was enough light in the background, sometimes it would focus on the background, even behind the beaded curtain. I like the video and everything, it's a great camera, but it has its limitations. And then, on top of that, so the Sony ZV-E is over there with the Elgato teleprompter. But I've also... other upgrades are, like, I finally replaced the crappy mic arm that, kept falling on me, because every now and then it would fall, like, I'd have to find the perfect height. Now, as you can see, I can raise and lower. It's staying in place. Found this actually pretty inexpensively. I still gotta play with the threaded mounts, because it's not... like, fully threaded in like I want it to. It's more of a nitpicky thing, to be honest. That's more of just finding the right thread adapter. I got some more. And then I got this over here. So I'm building up my little mobile content creation setup over here. So you got the windscreens over here for the DJI Mic 2. Here's my DJI Mic 2 over here. 2 transmitters, 1 receiver. This is a really great mic. I love it. I like it more than the newer CM28. It sounds better, but I will be honest, the newer CM28 that I had was probably a better budget for a lot of people that are just dabbling in content, but if you're starting to take it seriously, DJI is a lot better, but this is a very expensive mic for the comparison. Then I've got the little DJI Pocket Cam 2, Pocket Cam 3 over here. So, turn this on, you literally just slide that open, and it's a gimbal camera that can do 4K video and face detection and everything. So I'm going to get a few more SD cards over time, so I can record with this. And what I'm thinking of doing is recording more of my content with this guy on the go than my smartphone. Don't get me wrong, I like my Samsung S23, but it's one of those things where I was sitting back and I'm like, I can do better than this phone camera. And there's also a downside to having an entire phone. You have another damn phone. I've got, you know, a backup battery camera over here, and I like this case, by the way, I happen to find. I'll put this all together in content when I make YouTube videos covering it, but you can hold all sorts of things. So, down here I have some more of the accessories, the little tripod, the base station. You can't see it because of the camera, but you can fit a lot of things in here. So I'm going to get a couple more battery handles, stuff like that. So if I go do things like DEF CON and start recording content and all that, it'll be a lot easier, especially for range day at the DEF CON shoot and stuff like that. So I'm working on some upgrades for content, and I'm also working on getting some new computers. My desktop's perfectly fine, don't get me wrong. I have another laptop on the way while we're upgrading this little laptop over here. So I did get the battery replacement for this, because something was wrong with one of the battery packs, but this is fully open source. It's not a big deal. And I know some of you are like, well, I want it to work, you know, out of the box from the vendor, but I was like, this is a good time to test how repairable this is, which is one of their claims to fame. It's completely open source and right to repair friendly. So that's why I'm not complaining about it, as well as the fact that we're working on an upgrade already for this, that I'm already in contact with PCBWay. Disclaimer, they will be sponsoring a video for the upgrade for this because they are CNCing the upgrade to this laptop. So what I figured out was, let me turn this off for a sec so I can show it off a little bit better. So what I figured out was the top and bottom here, they're not anodized aluminum like the rest of the cases, okay? They are like a PCB with some copper material in hopes of diffusing the heat. The problem is, because the thermal pads are directly attached to the little copper underneath it, and there's not that much to dissipate, overall, because it's like a PCB mixed in, the CPU in here can get pretty hot. Like, I was reading it around 60 to 70 degrees Celsius. I think the Wi-Fi chip in here is overheating, so I'm playing with some ways to improve that. One is adding more thermal pads that are a little bit better. I have some G-lid ones. The other thing is someone discovered that you can replace this top with 6061 aluminum, get that CNC'd, and then that will drop temperatures by anywhere from 20 to 30 degrees Celsius. Perfect. Only downside is you got to get that CNC'd. So I have PCBWay making another copy of this, 1.2 millimeters thick. Hopefully it should be fine. PCBWay was the company that actually made the chassis and stuff here for MNT. So the other nice thing is I'm getting the top anodized in purple to match this purple. So it's going to be purple all the way, but it's going to have my logo laser engraved on the back here. So they're laser engraving my logo with purple anodized aluminum out of 6061 aluminum. So I will be honest, it's a little bit of an expensive, you know, upgrade there. Like, I think it's close to a little over $100 if I were to pay for this outright. But it was an upgrade I was going to do anyway, because I want to get this laptop working. The idea of an open source laptop that is fully right to repair friendly and upgradable and it's been a dream for me to have. So I want to get this going as much as possible. Now the downside is because it's going to be aluminum, it's going to, of course, be a little bit more of a trap for Wi-Fi signal. Now the Wi-Fi antenna is on this side underneath this little plastic piece over here. So what I'm going to be doing is I took this apart off stream. I think I showed it off actually last stream or anything like that. Under this bezel, there's 2 gaps in there with nothing, and then just PCB between that. So what I was thinking of doing was putting my 5G cell antennas in this gap over here. And that will be how I get the signal for 5G. Now, as far as the Wi-Fi antenna, what I'm going to play with is, does the 2.45 gigahertz antenna in this laptop already work well enough just from here if it's going to be sealed? And if it's not, what I might do is figure out an alternative position to place that in. So that'll take some, tinkering and figuring it out. But I like the idea of figuring out this little puzzle to get this working the way I expect it. Based on the community feedback, this works pretty well for it and should hold me over until the next upgrade, which is once I get the 4G modem in, I get the NVMe SSD, I will probably upgrade to the RK3588 CPU that they offer as an upgrade once they create the package that has the Wi-Fi card built in, so I don't have to remove the 4G cell modem I'm adding, because the Wi-Fi you would have to add would replace the 4G cell modem. And the idea of having a fully contained laptop where I can go into my trusted network here and then only connect to wireless networks when I absolutely need to, and I can just stick to cell, just is great, in my view. And for anyone that's like, what about, stingrays and all that can intercept your cell data? Like, bro. Yeah. Is it ARM? Yes, it is ARM. They are also working on RISC-V upgrades for this. So eventually, when they have a RISC-V package, I can immediately buy the RISC-V package, drop it in, and boom! I now have a RISC-V laptop. Completely upgradable, completely open source. Now, as an early backer of this device, it comes with an iMX8M Plus with 8 gigabytes of RAM and a 128 gigabyte eMMC. Pretty good to start out with. I think it's a 4-core CPU. If you buy this laptop right now, it comes with the Banana Pi A311D, which is slightly faster than the iMX8M Plus on here, but only comes with 4 gigabytes of RAM. But it also includes the Wi-Fi card built in. You can also, as I said, get the RK3588. You can also, if you want, buy the adapter that they sell as part of the A311D upgrade kit, apparently, that can also allow you to do the Raspberry Pi Compute Module 4. So, in the next few weeks, there will be some really great upgrades for this. No one intercepts my payload. That's what she said. The other thing that I'm working on is I have another laptop coming in, because while I love this laptop, the reality is this is going to be my light to eventually, once I get the RK3588 CPU, medium load laptop. But this isn't going to be, excuse me, that beer is now hitting me. This laptop is not going to be my full-fledged everything laptop, because there are some things where I'm going to need an NVIDIA GPU. There are some things I'm going to need a pretty heavy x86 CPU for. That's just the reality of things. Not everything's ported over to ARM, and, we're kind of in this weird state, as well as this will eventually have RISC-V, and then I will want to shift more into the RISC-V workloads of things. So this is always going to be more of my, we're doing portable computing. I need an office writer, a little web browsing, check my email, talk with my friends on Discord, and, just the basic kind of device I'm going to need. Eventually I'll have a cell modem in here, so I'll probably install the ability to text inside of here, and if I can get phone working out of here, that'll be really cool, because then I can, use this as a, full-on proper phone if I want to. Not that I'm going to replace my phone with this, let's be honest. It's a little bit of a clunky way to do things, but it would be nice to have a separate number for it. Not everyone is going to want to do work the way I do, but I'm in this weird old school, new school kind of way of doing things, but that'll work for me. But anyway, light laptop. But I have a new laptop I've talked about, which I have coming in from Tuxedo Computers. And I just got the first proof in of them laser engraving it. So let me show you what came about. If you were in the Discord, you probably have already seen this. You open this up in the web browser. You know what this is? Anyone want to guess? I know it's my logo, but what is my logo laser engraved onto? Any idea? I'll give you a hint. It's very small, which is why there are details missing. Yup, it's the keycap, but not just any. So as many of you know, when you get a laptop, you have the start button with the Windows logo. One thing I'll show you, let me I'll unplug my keyboard away from my stream box over here. So, yep, this is the super key. So on my System 76 keyboard, I famously do not have the Windows key. I have a super key. So this is the keyboard I have on the Stream PC, which does not have the 10 key. And then I have this is the launch keyboard by System 76, by the way. And the dongle is my YubiKey that I have in this. I have a YubiKey in both keyboards at any given point. The launch heavy is on my main desktop, which has the 10 key, because there's just something about needing a 10 key and that familiarity. I don't know. I just like it. Yeah. Squeeze that in. Anyway. Yeah, System 76 has made keyboard for years. How many YubiKeys do you use? A lot. I've got a YubiKey, I've got YubiKeys and I've got spares. I think I've got a total of, like, about 10 in rotation. But I also have different YubiKeys assigned with different things. So, like, this YubiKey on the stream box over here only has access to stream-related things, because I didn't see the need to register it to everything. The YubiKey over here is the same as the YubiKey for the rest of my stuff over there. You miss your AT IBM keyboard? 1 second. Are we talking about something like this? The buckling spring IBM Model M keyboards like this? Yeah, I love this keyboard. The only shame about this keyboard is, one, this straight up doesn't have a super key. It's missing famously over here, because this is from 96. And, this only works on PS2 connections. Personally, I liked PS2 over USB. Because the difference with USB is a universal serial bus, and it's kind of listening for a command. Now, I know there's a way to talk about interrupt through USB and all that, but it's not the same. Whereas PS2 is literally hardware injecting voltage straight to the CPU that PS2 will interrupt your CPU. So, like, USB kind of is like, hey, we pressed a key. You pressed A. Whereas PS2 is like, motherfucker, stop the presses. We pressed a key. If it doesn't have a Copilot key, I don't want it. Fuck Copilot. Your thoughts on the new budget framework laptop and new desktop? So the desktop kind of made no sense to me whatsoever. Here's the reality. That market that System 76 is getting into in terms of desktops is such a competitive market to begin with. Laptops, okay, yeah, you get the ability to repair your own laptop and upgrade it and everything. Okay. Laptops, they have a lot of competition, but desktops, it doesn't make sense because all the things that Framework is offering in the desktop, there's nothing revolutionary about it. It's just, hey, look, here's another desktop. You can buy parts for it. Guess what you can do? You can do that with any computer you build at Micro Center. You can even get tons of small bare bones kits to do a lot of the same things. So I kind of feel like it was okay, they made a desktop. And where's the budget laptop? I haven't really checked that out. Hold on 1 second. Nope, the older gray ones. This is from 1996. If you're getting older than probably before I was born. What's the most secure way of eating fruit? What the hell? What was I looking up? Oh yeah. Framework budget laptop. Let's check it out. Wait, $899, is that the cheapest laptop they have? $799 Intel Ultra Core Series 1, $749, $729 was refurbished. I don't know how I feel about it. Because, like, on one hand, you can... It's not that... Okay, there we go. Oh, factory seconds, $499. Oh, there we go. Laptop 12. Laptop 12. Let's check this out. So, it's a little 12-inch laptop. Yada, yada, yada. Okay, but I don't see a price. So it's kind of hard to, really talk about this. If there's no price to compare it to. It has multiple colors. It's plastic, probably. Well, it's a budget laptop, so what are you going to do? So, are they talking about how much it's going to be? Is anywhere? So it's really hard to really gauge this if there's no price. Yeah, I'm not seeing any price numbers on there, so it's really hard to judge the laptop as it is. Not to mention, here's the reality. If it has Windows, that's immediately going to cost a good chunk of the laptop. At OEM prices, it'd be about 100 or that. Yeah, it just got announced, but there's no prices. Come on. Even Apple, when they announce their phones and new laptops, tells you about what price it's going to be most of the time. So it's really hard to gauge the value proposition of this laptop. I'm tired of every keyboard coming with the Windows key. As am I. Here's the reality. That's part of the reason why I buy Linux-powered laptops from Linux companies. I'm tired of seeing Windows keys on laptops running Linux and then having to put a penguin sticker over them. Don't get me wrong. I think Framework does... The idea of Framework is an interesting one. I'm not going to knock them for that. It's a good idea. Everything should be modular. Should be a bit more right to repair. But... I think Framework is also kind of in a rock and a hard place. You can only do so much in the laptop market to reduce prices. Especially given the context of a lot of people are wanting to use Windows. Here's the reality. You can't get a laptop with a Windows license cheap. Yes, you can say like, oh, they're cheap in comparison, but if you buy OEM licensing, even in bulk, let's say you get a nice deal from Microsoft, it's still going to tack on anywhere from we're talking manufacturer's cost, $50 to $100 per license. Think about that. So if you're already having a good chunk, and let's say, what's the least expensive laptop out there, brand new? I think there's some Chromebooks, or not Chromebooks, but mini laptops with Windows on it that are about like $400 or $500. $50 to $100 of that is Windows. Percentage-wise, that's a good chunk. That's anywhere from 12.5% to 25%. I'm giving rough numbers here. And that's another reason why I urge people to use Linux more. And for those of you that are like, well, Windows is free. No, it's baked into your laptop and desktop price whenever you get Windows. Thoughts on ARM RISC-V? Bit broad there. I like RISC-V. RISC-V still needs time to mature. I also like ARM. This is my new laptop that has ARM on it. Well, Chrome OS is Linux. That's why it's free. That and Google makes money off of your data. But part of the reason, as I was talking about before you came on, usually Zephyr, was this laptop, fully open source, fully right to repair, modular. They are working on eventually getting packages to allow you to install a RISC-V CPU in here. So I can go from ARM to RISC-V in this laptop, potentially. That would be great. I would love to be on a RISC-V complete format, because then I would have a fully open source, fully right to repair laptop. Oh, this is the MNT Pocket Reform. I talked about this on TikTok. I will have some upcoming YouTube content on it. I'm working on some upgrades for it, because the thermals were not the greatest. Like, I will be honest and say, I don't know if I would recommend this to somebody who's not a tinkerer, because you may need to tinker with it. This is not the kind of device that you expect to get out of the box and just be like, use it like any other laptop. You could do that for the most part, but there are a little bit of caveats around this, like I was talking about with like the thermal performance. So I'm working on a new aluminum backplate that's getting CNC'd by PCBWay. I just got the approval last night. I'm talking to them right now about the collaboration deal. So you will see a sponsored TikTok post in the near future from PCBWay in exchange for making the new aluminum CNC'd top. Anodized, purple, everything. So, did you ever get the battery in? I haven't worked on the battery yet. I haven't had time. I'm going to do that either Friday, Saturday, or maybe Sunday. I just haven't had too much time, and I'm not pressed for it, because I'm also like, even if I get the battery in, I still got to do the thermals, and the thermals, I probably won't have the backplate in. Soonest, it'll probably be mid-March, because it's got to be made, it's got to be shipped. They're going to make the plate, they're going to laser engrave it with my logo and everything. That's also going to be my new thing, where I'm trying to really take ownership of my devices and make them a little bit more unique. Brand them, literally. But yeah, this is the MNT Pocket Reform. You can get it at mntre.com. Currently it ships with the Banana Pi A311D, 4 gigabytes of RAM, Wi-Fi built in, and I think 128 gigs of eMMC. It's a decent CPU, not a lot of RAM. This one I got as a pre-order unit. As the iMX8M Plus, they don't offer it anymore, apparently. There might have been supply issues, if I recall. 8 gigabytes of RAM, slightly slower than the A311D. Wi-Fi is built into it, 128 gigabytes of eMMC. You can also install an NVMe in here. You can also install a Wi-Fi card through the M.2 that has USB signaling. They tell you which Wi-Fi card if you want to upgrade the Wi-Fi. Or you install the RK3588, which is a beast of a CPU that the current package doesn't have Wi-Fi. So, that'll be coming in the next few weeks. So, I'm looking forward. Your thoughts on Steam Deck is right to repair? I'm not sure I would I don't know if I would qualify Steam Deck as right to repair if they don't really document all the components there for you to be able to repair it. I haven't looked too much into it. Okay, so hold on. Well, these kind of posts are not, great. They gave it a 7 out of 10 rating, but yeah, the issue is there's no parts really available, apparently. So in order for a device to be considered right to repair friendly, the honest truth is you need to have the parts listed. You need to at least give us the ability to source the parts. Or the specs of the device. Let me show you what I mean. So this little guy right now, the laptop, the MNT Pocket Reform. Let's see, build of materials. Let's open up the handbook. They tell you right here. Case parts, keyboard frame, everything about this laptop is detailed. Like, literally, if you open the top half of the Pocket Reform, you'll encounter various internal cables. Here's what they do. 2-pin JST SH 4cm cable. 5-pin it goes into detail. I'm not gonna lie and basically tell you, like, if you come about and say that you are right to repair, sorry if I just blinded anyone, this is the bare minimum I expect from you to call yourselves right to repair. I need to know every fucking thing about your device. I should be able to get access to what every component does, how they work, where I can source it. You know, like, look at this. You got so much detail in this, down to the electronic signaling of the UART, everything. This is what I am going to tell you in order to be considered as right to repair friendly, what I expect. Because this goes on and on. Like, look, you got keyboard, you've got the trackball firmware, you need to rebuild it, every little piece you can think of in this computer. They even mention what brand they use with the 606090, the spec of it. So you can actually look at all this. So let's say they go out of business. You can then look up. Tells you how everything goes. You got the like, I have not seen this much documentation in many years. And like that's just the hardware. So let's say you need to, you know, let's see. You got some things over here. Compatible battery cells. Okay. Trackball. Hold on, where was I looking? Keyboard frame, motherboard, keyboard. Replacing a keycap. By FK caps, which are smaller than regular chocolate keycaps, can be placed closer than usual. You can pull out individual keycaps with your fingernails or better using a keycap puller. Replacing a key switch. It tells you, like, what you can do to replace them. The best way to desolder the switch is a desoldering gun. If you don't have one, try using a soldering iron and solder wick to remove the solder of one pin. So they are soldered in. Yeah, Apple needs right to repair as well. Apple used to actually give you documentation back in the Steve Wozniak days of, here's your computer, here's how it works and everything. We've moved very far away from that. How will you go to the website documentation when they're out of business? you go to the source code that they have, and the community will have forked a lot of this stuff. That's the beauty of these open source right to repair devices. A lot of them are designed to outlast the company if that happens. Now, they host their own GitLab, but there's nothing stopping anyone from taking the work off their GitLab and moving it. So, yeah. The beauty of open source is you don't have to rely on the company. So yeah, there's definitely a few things that Apple needs to take note of. That's why I laugh whenever anyone's like, well, Apple's, making huge leaps to make repairability better. And, no, you're not. You don't make your devices to be repaired. You don't even let us get the documentation. You treat us like we don't know, we shouldn't be trusted with our own damn hardware to repair our own hardware. Yeah, there's definitely some people out there I would not even let them touch their own laptop to repair it and just use their laptop. There's some people that, shouldn't even touch computers because they break shit all the time. But everyone should have the right to be able to do whatever they want with their hardware. And that's where I and Apple begin going at odds with each other. Also, have y'all seen, segueing into another topic, Tesla's been crashing hard. Tesla is crashing harder than a 5-year-old after discovering sugar for the first time in their life. What is Tesla stock at right now? Holy. Man, it just keeps going down. Look at this. In one day, it opened at 290.79, went to 294, closed at 281.95, and it's trading after hours still in the 280s. That's just in one day. The previous close was 290.80. These were the past 5 days. This was the past month. He's almost completely wiped out 6 months worth of gains. Yeah, I know Bitcoin crashed a bit. So that's due to an exchange being compromised. Bybit. By the dip? No, this is not a dip. That's what a lot of people need to understand. This is not a dip. Here's the reality. Do you see that profit earning ratio of 138? That is absurdly high. Let's do a comparison here. Apple PE ratio. Apple, they're kind of considered a little bit high on the P&E, is at a ratio of 35. Tesla is an automaker. Let's look at Toyota PE ratio. Toyota has a PE currently of... Let's go here. They currently have a PE ratio of 7.29. Ford. Let's see. Ford. Where's your PE financials? No. Okay, so it's price ratios. Let's go to the price ratios for Ford. Okay, so Ford has a 5. Honda. Right. Honda. Honda. Price ratios. Honda currently has a ratio of 6.29. So between that like 6 to 9 range is where they're at. So if Tesla were to keep its profits right now, okay? Let's do a little bit of math here. If Tesla were to take that right now, and let's put it on the positive end, all right? Dividing by 138.33, and we're going to multiply that by... Let's be generous. For an auto company, let's give it a 9. If Tesla keeps its profits right now, you're looking at less than $20 of a price for what a car company should be valued at. We can check what Volvo's PE ratio is. Oh, Volvo's not traded in the U.S. That's right. Who owns a Volvo? Let me check. You can check VW. Oh, no. German. Yeah, that's right. No, wait. Volkswagen is owned by... the Volkswagen Group, I think. I've got to figure that out. Volvo. Oh, they are. Okay, so they're in a different market. Volvo's PE ratio, not listed. Interesting. Yeah, different. Let me see. Volvo PE. Okay, so Volvo... I had to dig into other markets to figure this out. Has a PE of 13.49, so they're doing pretty well. But yeah, if Tesla goes to what people think is the average expected rate, price to earning ratio, the fair price is if they keep their current sales numbers. By the way, they have an earnings call in April. They're not doing well in terms of sales numbers as it is, as reported by Europe. And Canada is threatening to slap a 100% tariff on Canadian cars. And Tesla has also lost dominance in the EV market. And just to tell you how contradictory Elon's political stuff is to his customer base, I want you to genuinely think about this. All right? Let's try to be as unbiased as possible. If you think of an EV buyer, do you think that there's someone that leans liberal or someone that leans conservative? Think about that critically. Because overwhelmingly, the people that probably are agreeing with Elon's politics like internal combustion engines, diesel and gasoline. There are very, very few people that I've come across that like EVs or want EVs that actually politically agree with Elon. It's this weird juxtaposition. And I remember somebody shared an article with me earlier today just to show you how bad this is. I think this is on Blue Sky. Let me make sure I find this article if I can find notifications. Yeah, here we go. There was an article from MSN that was originally from Bloomberg, it looked like. Yep, Bloomberg. Talking about Tesla. So, look at the Elon Musk's unpopularity in Germany. This is like kind of the barometer for how Europe is right now. A very extremely unfavorable view. Now, what was more interesting was this. Poll of 600 registered voters was taken shortly after the November U.S. election. So this is from November. This is before Elon's Sieg Heil moment. To make this very clear for the timeline. Okay? 49% of men find a favorable opinion, 32% unfavorable. Flips with women from 34 favorable to 43. Now, what was interesting here was of the people who had a favorable opinion, 42% were favorable of Elon Musk, 37% had an unfavorable opinion of him that drove a gas car. But the people that drive an EV only had a 35% favorable opinion of Elon Musk and a 42% unfavorable opinion. People that might buy an EV had a 38% approval rating of him and a 41% unapproval rating. And this is before the inauguration moment where he did his Sieg Heil, and we now start calling them swastikars. He already had a negative view. Do you really think that's going to improve? No. And that's what's really interesting is when you look at the numbers and everything, this goes to show why Tesla's going to really go downhill. Like, this is only going to get worse. So if you already look at it, around the November election, November 6th, I believe was the election, correct me if I'm wrong, we were at $288.53. We're now at $281.95. He's officially $7 lower than before the election. If I ever switched away from my hybrid Toyota, it wouldn't be to an EV by that man. I agree. So here's the interesting thing. I've talked about this. I am considering my next car to be an EV. Now, I'm not in the market by any means. My car, despite it being a decade old, it's fully paid off, and I have less than 70,000 miles on it. So it's got plenty of life in it. It's a good car. I just took it in for its first non-maintenance related repair, which was the hatch in the trunk. It wouldn't shut, and I had to get the entire hatch assembly to lock replaced because it was literally at the point where if I hit a speed bump, the trunk would open just ever so slightly, and you would see the trunk open sensor come up. But one car that has not been on my mind is a Tesla. The honest truth is, the car that I really want, I love the BYD Auto 3. That is the car I fell in love with while I was in Portugal. It's cost effective. It's not a Tesla. Yeah. I would love to get a BYD Auto 3. I would love to get a Xiaomi. Have you seen the Xiaomi SU7? It's so nice. The CEO of Ford is driving one. Was it Xiaomi SU7? Have you seen this car? I like the EVs coming out of Mexico. Haven't checked them out. The Chinese EVs, they are absolutely insane. You are definitely right. Let's look at this for a second here. This is the SU7. This is the same car. I'm going to turn off the sound in case it's leaking through just so I don't get a strike or anything like this. But look at this. That's the Xiaomi SU7. It's got really nice curves. Like, it's got a really nice profile. Look at that. That's a sexy car. I want to look at the interior, though. So, like, look at that. Hold on. They only give you, like, a quick snapshot. But I would really love this car. It comes in great colors. Look at this. You can get your interior in some pretty good colors as well. 2.78 seconds, 0 to 100 kilometer. Top speed of 265 kilometers an hour. How fast is that for y'all uncivilized people? 100 kilometers an hour to miles per hour.
100 kilometers per hour. is 62.14 miles per hour.
So it's 0 to 60 is 2.78 seconds. 265 kilometers to miles.
265 kilometers is 164.66 miles.
So it can go pretty fast. It's not the fastest by any means, but unless you're on the Autobahn, you're not going to be doing this. But this could do well on an Autobahn. It's got 50-50 weight, front-rear weight distribution. It's got an air suspension. Ooh, that's got to be a smooth ride. Yeah, this is a really nice, well-designed car. But here's the other thing. It's not only got the cameras and everything, which Tesla cars do have too. It's got radar. It's got an ultrasonic radar in there, a front millimeter and a rear millimeter radar. It's got LiDAR in here, and it's got NVIDIA Drive Orin. So the Pro can do 84 trillion operations per second. The new one, the Xiaomi Pilot Max, can do 508. So this thing's a powerful computer on its own. Look at this cabin. This is the car I would love to drive. Like America? Hold on. America. We need to have a chat. It's time to stop tariffing every fucking thing just because it's Chinese and accept that we need cheaper vehicles. We don't make cheap shit. We don't even make really that good of a shit anymore. America is opposed to tech advances. We need to be citizens of the world and accept some countries can innovate better than we can. And as we've learned very, very well, by shutting off an entire country and ignoring them, they will innovate without us. So why not be able to have insights into the Chinese market so we can innovate as a whole world together? Because America is going to be left behind whether we like it or not. Drop those damn fucking tariffs on my Chinese EVs so I can fucking get a car that is electric that I actually like. Like, seriously, I want an electric car. But have you seen the cost of a Rivian? I'm not paying for a fucking Tesla. And a lot of these EVs made by the main manufacturers, they're not that great. How fast can it go around the Nürburgring? I don't know. But personally, if I had the money, I'd still buy a Xiaomi SU7, even with the 100% tariff. Like, this is great. China, Canada, and Mexico tariffs us severely. You may want to check that reality because Canada and Mexico have been trading partners of the U.S. as an economic bloc for many years. Chinese car brand is common to see here in Norway. Yeah, they're very common to see over in Europe. That's where I was in Portugal, and that's where I fell in love with BYD. The other interesting thing, going back to the article we were talking about on Bloomberg, Tesla's no longer the dominant EV in America. Tesla is officially less than 50%. What is your popular Chinese car brand in your country? We don't have them. Like, no joke. In order to get a lot of these Chinese EVs, what we need to do is import them. Which then comes to the issue of, how do we service them? No joke. Yeah, we can't get Chinese phones. In fact, Xiaomi, I learned, has a separate BIOS. I learned about this through RedNote. Yes, I'm on Xiaohongshu. I do make content over there. It's the same content. I just add Chinese captions to a lot of it. Ni hao, bitch. They have a different BIOS for when you want to take your Xiaomi phone onto a US network. Because I want you to understand how fucked up this is. You're a Chinese. No, we don't even have BYD here. What part of no Chinese brands do you understand? They either banned the electronics, like Huawei electronics and stuff like that, or they tariff them to hell. There's a 100% tariff on BYD, on all electric Chinese cars. So all the reason to buy a cheap Chinese car go out the window, because with those tariffs, it now becomes more expensive than most US cars. With their US brands, no Chinese original cars. Yeah. There are cars in Europe and China that we don't have in the US that are made by US companies. Tesla just has cooler looking software, that's it. I wouldn't even say it's cooler looking. Like, have you seen the software that they use in Xiaomi and like, I've been watching these videos on RedNote. I wish there was an easy way to pull up RedNote in English on the iPhone, on the desktop. But like, you can go like just search cars on Xiaohongshu, and you will see insane videos on Chinese cars. Like, there's tons and tons of these amazing Chinese cars that I'm like, I want that, I want that, I want that. I have an Iconic Fi. It's slightly slicker looking, but not by much. Yeah, that's the problem. All the main car manufacturers are treating EVs like a gas car with an EV motor. They're not basically modernizing the car. And that's the issue. And for a lot of these car manufacturers, the main reason they're going into making everything controlled by a smart panel, a touchscreen or something like that, is because for them, it's cheaper to run one harness to do all the controls than it is to wire up all the buttons and everything. No joke. Teslas are overpriced garbage. Build quality is trash and their quality control is terrible. Oh, absolutely. So we have people at work. Many people at work have Teslas. It's just the way it is. You know how it is. And those cars have regularly done stupid shit in AI mode. You know, the auto driving and all that. They can't think for themselves, because the problem is Tesla cars are so dependent on cameras. Like, straight up, if you have a head-on sun giving too much light, the Tesla car will be blinded and can't do shit with most of its safety features. Whereas, like, you get the Xiaomi SU7 on the max mode, it's got LiDAR and ultrasonic radar. Knight Rider, I would disagree. I've had very little issues with it. I've been in quite a few Teslas. Just because you say there weren't a lot of issues doesn't mean that we all haven't experienced them. I've disabled a Tesla with a cone. You know, a traffic cone? I've literally seen the Tesla almost run into a barrier when I was in the car. There was the time we're going into a left-hand lane, and the car couldn't figure out what the fuck to do. It literally was doing this, at the wheel, where we have to take over regularly. Not to mention the blinding sun that I mentioned. If you have direct oncoming sunlight that can blind you, like you are getting blinded by it, your front-facing cameras are being blinded. And not a fan of auto drive. Drive assist is cool, but full driving is just not there, I don't think. Well, full driving in a Tesla is never going to be there. Because here's the reality. I want you to think about this. We as humans, we don't depend only on our sight. We have touch, taste, smell, and hearing. Think about that for a second. Anyway, if Tesla is only focusing on eyesight, it's going to be blinded in many different ways. You need to add sensors. Like, I can save money down there, one could eat, getting money in the daytime, even kinda when I sleep. Wake up to getting bread, bitch, I do this for the streets. ADHD. Thank you for that sub over there, Torvos, thank you. Some people are putting it on my iPod and expecting full FSD, fully self-driving capabilities. Yeah, that's the problem. It reminds me very much of, do you know there was an actual lawsuit? I may have to look up the specifics there. Someone sued a company many years ago over cruise control because they believed that cruise control was going to be autonomous driving. And I believe they won that lawsuit. Cruise control. Not FSD, not assisted driving, cruise control. It's seeing all the Teslas around Columbus, but I enjoy sitting near the dealership with my flipper. Yeah, the weird thing is, I work in cybersecurity, and there's quite a few people in cybersecurity that have Teslas. And I just sit there like, there's so many things wrong with how that model operates. Security-wise. But yeah, there's a lot of issues with Tesla and how they do things. They're just a Formula SAE car over a Tesla, and Formula SAE cars are built by college students. I'm not familiar with those. What's stopping them from switching cars? Loans. People have loans. They have to pay their cars off before they can properly switch them out. And then here's the other problem. Okay, you want to get away from a Tesla. Your choices in the EUS are still pretty expensive. So they'd have to finish that loan out, get another loan on a car. That's the reality. Cars are not one of those things that you just buy and sell. The average car loan is, I think, close to like 3 years. Maybe closer to 5. Let me look that up. Average car loan length, 24. The average car length of a car loan in the United States is 68.48 months. So 5 years. Almost 6 years. So a car is an investment into a depreciating asset. Do other manufacturers screw over secondhand owners like Tesla does? No. Well, maybe. But not to the extent that Tesla does. Like, you heard that the Cybertruck, if you bought a Cybertruck, you legally were apparently not allowed to sell it for 1 year after purchase. And the Tesla used car market is apparently cratering too. Not to mention, Tesla won't let you repair their car. Well, they will, but they won't let you buy parts. They won't let you get the powertrain or many other components. Which, again, goes back to my right to repair ethos. No one wants a Tesla. It's like the overproduction of MAGA shirts. Yeah. I do think Tesla is going to really decline for many years. Well, the question I have is how long is it going to take Yeah, we were just talking about the PE. It's actually gone down from 148 to 138 because Tesla went down another 3% today. They've been continuously falling to the point like you have to pull out 6 months to just see profit. And for those of you coping, just like, if you're ever worried about losing money, just zoom out. Here's the reality. That might be good on a 5-day rolling average. That might be good on a 1-month rolling average. But if you have to start going at a 6 months, you need to start smelling the coffee. Most of their income is from selling carbon credits. Yeah, that and they did load up on quite a bit of Bitcoin. I don't know how much. As part of their asset liability. I forget where that falls technically with cryptocurrency. But, and this is like a whole bunch of copium. Like Barron, Tesla stock fell for 6 straight days. It's now attractive, technician says. That's a whole bunch of copium because PE is too high. Now, I know a lot of people are having a bunch of copium because they're like, well, Tesla is not a car company. They're an AI and, robotics company. I want y'all to think this through. If Tesla's goal is for autonomous driving, self-driving taxis, that's going to remove tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of jobs globally for car drivers. I'm not just talking Uber and Lyft. I'm talking like actual taxi cab drivers. So you're gonna get rid of the people that would probably need money to pay for a lot of your services. And who's gonna make that money? Another corporation? That doesn't make sense to me. Now, let's also understand that Elon Musk, those robotic units, the humanoid ones he's talking about? They, what happened to all the horse and buggy jobs? That's an apple and oranges argument, if there ever was one. Because where do those people that are drivers go? Horse and buggy drivers, that's totally different. Horse and buggy drivers, guess what they became very often? Cab drivers. The whole industry around private driving and chauffeur driving and all of that was an evolution from horse and buggy. Let's use our critical thinking skills. Okay, so people managed to change jobs. That's not the argument you think it is. This isn't even the same argument as, well, when ATMs came in, they killed all the bank tellers. No, it's not even the same argument. You're talking about you're talking about taking the money that individuals were making and putting that all into the pocket of one corporation. So who's going to really make all that money? Another corporation. Now let's add insult to injury here. He wants to be a robotics company. His robots are priced around what? $20,000 a pop to manufacture? Who the fuck is going to pay $20,000 a pop for a humanoid robot? And that's just what I believe their cost was. So it's probably going to be more than that. Why would anyone want to do that when you could easily ship the jobs overseas for far less and still spend less money in 5 years of time than you would for that one robot? That doesn't make sense. Or you have the whole fact with SpaceX, which is the biggest welfare whore of a company, because SpaceX pretty much lives off of government subsidies and contracts. Tesla also does too. But yeah, you need to think things through critically. The argument of horse and buggy drivers is not even relevant to this. Horse and buggy became what? Cars. Yeah. Not only that, like I've talked about before, Tesla cars don't perform well in a lot of different conditions because they're blind in many different ways. They don't have LiDAR. They don't have any ultrasonic radars. It's just all cameras. And cameras have flaws, just like every other technology. But that's why when you build an autonomous system, you want an overlapping set of sensors to check each other. Trying to download Parrot OS and open it with Oracle VM, but keeps getting error code. Just status name, object name not found. Don't know about that. You might want to just Google that error code and see what happens. Make sure you've got your virtualization extents and all that turned on. And yeah, people use SpaceX because they're the cheapest launch provider. Why are they the cheapest launch provider? Go back to what I said. The government is subsidizing them. Tesla, SpaceX, both of those companies only are able to compete because of government subsidies in various forms and fashions. As SpaceX is only able to be cheaper because they use the government money, the taxpayer money. We, the taxpayer, are the reason they are cheaper. Parrot or Kali? Actually asking your opinion. Parrot, if you're actually doing it as a daily driver. Kali, just keep it to a virtual machine. Wait, overlapping sensors checking each other. You're referring to the trust but verify model? Not exactly. What I mean by that is, okay, let's think about the human perception of things. Just the human one. Let's remove all electronics here. Can you always trust your eyes? No, because there's plenty of optical illusions out there. And if we can't trust our eyes all the time because of an optical illusion or something like that, we sometimes fall back to our hearing. We fall back to our touch. Sometimes our taste, our smell. We have built-in systems organically for when one sense cannot be trusted. For example, I have a stove. I just turned the stove off. It has been on for a while. My eyes won't tell me that it's hot unless you see a glowing coil. Let's just remove that for a second. But my fingers can feel the heat even before I touch it. Because my fingers can tell information that my eyes can't. Or you have a gas leak. How do you know about a gas leak? My eyes can't tell me about it. My ears maybe can if I hear the little tss, and that's just in some cases. But my nose can, and I know about the chemical they add to natural gas because you can't naturally smell it. Let's just remove that for a second, okay? That's the reality a lot of people forget. And Tesla was very short-sighted because they invested completely on optical cameras because they wanted to be cheap. Tesla has already gone through hardware version 2, 3, and 4. The whole reason for hardware version 2 originally was, well, hardware version 1 doesn't have enough, power, compute, everything around there for autonomous self-driving, so we need to go to hardware 2. That didn't work. Well, now we need to do hardware 3. Okay, well, that still doesn't work, so now we need to go to hardware 4. How many years has he been promising fully autonomous driving? And I'm going to guarantee you that those cars that he's trying to do for fully autonomous cabs and everything, it's going to be an issue too. So let's... how do you know you're not just a butterfly dreaming? Because I don't remember myself taking acid since college, that's why. Who thought it would be a good idea to add autopilot to a semi-truck? I don't understand that whole thing either. You're right, I was thinking to the never trust, always verify cybersecurity model. Yeah, that makes more sense. Just got the Pixel 9 Pro. Guess what iOS I'm running? I hope it's not iOS. You going for Calyx or Graphene? I also was thinking about getting a new Pixel too. So, I was talking about this on, Blue Sky and Mastodon a little bit earlier. I think I'm ready. To fully switch from Apple. Now, don't get me wrong. I've already been in both worlds for a while. But I was sitting back and thinking, for what reason is there to stick on my iPhone? Now, in the Pro column, my family that does have iPhones, which is a good majority, can iMessage me in an end-to-end encrypted format out the box without thinking about it. My family, which has iPhones, can FaceTime and, audio and video call me anywhere I'm in the world at no additional charge. Now, I know what you're thinking. Signal can do all that. I agree. But I'm talking about the boomers in my family, the people that don't know better. Okay? The only thing that I'm really keeping still is probably Apple Music. Because Apple Music does have better quality audio. But, at the same time, I'm also shifting more and more to my Tangara audio player for a lot of that stuff. So, I'm looking at maybe when I get another Pixel, probably like the 10A, maybe 10 Pro. The honest truth is I don't like the Pro models because they're always too big. I like small phones. I even think this iPhone 15 over here, I still think this is a little too big. So I'm thinking of getting another Pixel down the road. Not this year, maybe next year, because I've already spent enough on, devices and everything like that. Now, the one shortcoming is, I, of course, want to use Graphene OS. You can't do contactless payments on Graphene OS. And that's not the fault of Graphene OS before anyone says anything. That is the fault of Google requiring verified operating systems to be signed with Google before contactless payments work. Now, I did figure out a workaround around this. And I was already planning to go this route, sort of. So as you know, you may have seen, it's charging right now, I use an Apple Watch. If I were to go to Pixel, I would, of course, need the Android equivalent. The Pixel Watch 3. Now, here's the catch. I would probably need the Pixel Watch with LTE. It would need to be its own separate thing that could then be paired to Graphene OS, and then I could do contactless payments through the Pixel Watch. paired to my Graphene OS phone. That's the only approach I think that would work. It would be technically a little bit cumbersome when you think about it, because a lot of people like to take their phone. But the honest truth is, I was thinking about it, and I'm like, when I do my Apple Pay, I almost exclusively do it with my watch. If I have to reach into my wallet or my pocket to get my phone, I'm naturally reaching back for my wallet anyway to get my credit card that is contactless payment. So I'm like, okay, that makes sense to me. So, find it's a wee bit buggy running apps off the Play Store. It depends on what you're doing. I've liked the Pixel with Graphene OS for a while. I've been playing with it for 2 years now. I've had my 7A for 2 years. But there's not a lot of things in the Apple world that I still like better. Now, I would have to actually test out to see how workouts and everything work on the Pixel Watch. I would need to see how the health metrics work. So I do need to play with that aspect of things. But admittedly, this is going to be an expensive investment because I'd have to drop all at once for a new phone and a new watch. Whereas usually, I can upgrade the iPhone and the Apple Watch asynchronously. To give you an idea, this is only my second Apple Watch I've ever bought. My first Apple Watch was the Series 3. And I actually bought that secondhand off a friend of mine because she used to have the iPhone and then she switched to Samsung. And she's like, you want the Apple Watch? I'm like, yeah, sure. How much you want for it? She's like, $50? Cool. And the reasoning I was thinking around that was, I haven't had an Apple Watch yet. I wanted to see what the hype was. And $50 was, okay, it's $50. If I like it, great. If not, $50. I ended up liking the Series 3. And I got I think this is the Series 9. I only upgraded from the Series 3 to the Series 9 solely because that had a better sensor for my health metrics and the blood oxygen sensor and all of that stuff. Which I know there's the whole scandal around that whole thing. It is what it is. But I have blood oxygen in that. It was also that the Apple Watch was getting out of date, and it was just one of those, yeah, okay. The automatic MAC address spoofing is kind of cool. It is kind of nice in that way, but it's just one of those things where I kind of want to own a lot more data and put a lot more of my stuff in self-hosting. So I did find a open-sourced photo hoster and everything that I could start moving my photos to and everything. This would probably be a good amount of time. I'd probably have to spend, once I get the device, probably a good month or two. I can save money down there, we can eat, get money in the daytime, even kinda when I sleep. Wake up to getting bread, bitch, I do this for the streets. ADHD, thank you for that sub over there, Jessica. Appreciate you. Thank you for that. Oh, 2 months. You're on the street, girl. I hope I did not just assume the wrong gender, but your name's Jessica, so I'm gonna assume that. I think we had this conversation earlier. Yeah. Happy hacking, buddy. I'm running image on a NAS. It's not bad. Very Google Photos like. That's interesting. I gotta start self-hosting, but it's so overwhelming on where to start and what hardware to buy. Well, self-hosting doesn't have to be hardware related. You can start hosting in the cloud, in like DigitalOcean, Linode, AWS, Azure, whatever platform you're really comfortable with. Yeah, I know some of you are going to be like, oh my god, did he just recommend AWS and Azure? Look, some people, it's their bag, okay? You go with what you're comfortable with. Start tinkering there. You can get VPSs, virtual private servers, for like a few bucks a month. Spin up what you like for a few hours, tear it down. Then when you figure out what you like, then you can buy the hardware to really host it yourself. That's up to you. Yes, what did I miss? I am Iron Woman. A female, if you will. Alrighty. I just don't like to go assuming things, because I got plenty of friends who are, trans, they, thems, all of that. My philosophy is, I really don't give a fuck what you identify as long as you're just a chill person. So, it's one of those things where I don't necessarily understand people and why they choose to, identify as different things, but guess what? I don't fucking care. Okay, so I don't understand it. It's not my problem. Just makes them happy. Let's make them happy. It's no sweat off my back. I hope that doesn't, that makes sense. You're not causing harm, live your best life. Exactly. Like, let me put it this way. I don't care if you smoke weed. You do you. I ain't gonna do it myself right now. Job and all that kind of stuff. And I had a revelation a few years ago that, I wasn't my most productive self. Look, some people work great on it. Don't get me wrong. But if it makes you happy, you do your thing. But anyway, back to what I was saying. Did you see the Firefox thing? Which Firefox thing? Y'all can't just say, hey, did you see this thing about this big, software thing that has like 50 things happen with it every week? Come on, Vampire. But what thing? The only thing I got right now is a Raspberry Pi running Pi VPN and Pi hole, and my 3B running Octoprint. I mean, that's a good start. Them updating their policy. I mean, they update their policy all the time. What's the Firefox, conundrum of them updating their policy this time? Let's look it up. Firefox policy. News. Let's see what OMG Ubuntu says. Hot off the back of its recent leadership rejig, Mozilla has announced users of Firefox will soon be subject to a new terms of use policy, a first for the iconic open source web browser. Okay. Building in much different landscape today. We want to make these commitments abundantly clear and accessible, say Mozilla. The official terms of use will, Mozilla argues, offer more transparency over their rights and permissions as they use Firefox to browse the information superhighway, as well as Mozilla's rights to help them do it. The excerpt makes it clear. You give Mozilla all rights necessary to operate Firefox, including processing data, as we describe in the Firefox privacy notice, as well as acting on your behalf to help you navigate the internet. When you upload input information through Firefox, you hereby grant us a non-exclusive, royalty-free worldwide license to use that information to help you navigate, experience, and interact with content you indicate with your use of Firefox. So, are we all switching to Waterfox, I guess? Will be shown in Firefox first new installs and downloads on next month. Existing users who installed will see them later this year, according to Mozilla's Ajit Varma. Exciting! Sarcasm. Also about to go into effect is an updated privacy notice, aka privacy that adds a crop of cushy caveats to cover the company's planned AI chatbot integrations. Could you fucking vendors stop with the fucking bullshit AI add-on? Not everything needs AI. How about instead of worrying about artificial intelligence, you use your fucking real intelligence? A lot of software operating system online have with terms and conditions of the privacy policies attached. We're supposed to read them, but often don't, because big tech will attack, regardless of what we choose. Mozilla Firefox joining the fray by adding a terms of use of its own was not my bingo card of things I was hoping to see the browser do this year. Terms of use aren't common in open source, though nothing precludes their use, but I am not a lawyer. That said, it's perhaps not a surprise it's adding one since Firefox's lack of TOS made it something of an outlier, and it notes that the new terms only apply to the executable code version of Firefox, not the Firefox source code. That should mean downstream Firefox forks won't be roped in these terms against their will, and there is an upshot of this. Despite the new terms and the default configuration of Firefox favoring commercial needs, the browser itself has plenty of opt-out settings to allow users to control what happens to their data. Both of these new policies are available to read online, and they are easy to read too, not full of jargon, legal speak, or self-referring clause numbers and parentheses. Chances are, if you're curious about what it'll having to agree to, so go read the links. Check out Mozilla's announcements post for a lick spin. Okay. I'll have to read through this later, but the good news is it is actually pretty simple, it looks like. Okay. So I guess if one really wants to, you could just compile it yourself. Which probably isn't that hard to do. Sometimes I just want my intelligence to be organic, not artificial. Yeah, tell me about it. I don't even think a fleshlight needs AI. Like, I'm just waiting for the advent of, you know, what do you call it? I'm waiting for that moment when there is this weird, eerie combination of the, dolls. You know, those adult toy dolls? Having proper AI in them, and people start actually, like, thinking of them as their proper girlfriends. That's gonna be, weird. Like the, what do you call it? The Lucy Lou bot. You remember the Lucy Lou bot in Futurama? That. When Fry fell in love with a robot with a downloaded consciousness of Lucy Lou. Chobits! That was a great anime, too. I forgot about that one. That was a great series for that. Ubuntu so goated, had to donate for the love of the game. I don't use Ubuntu. I use Pop OS, which is a fork of, what do you call it? Fork of, Ubuntu. I literally just said the name and I forgot it. I just got Copilot Force demos in OneNote the other day and literally said, shut up, I just want to take notes. I'm kind of annoyed with a lot of Copilot, to be honest. It annoys me how much AI is being pushed into everything. Yeah, I don't understand it. But, yeah, I think AI is one of the overhyped technologies of this decade. I think last decade's technology, correct me if I'm wrong, was blockchain. Don't get me wrong, blockchain has a purpose, just like AI has its purposes. But I really think that, Jesus Christ. Jesus, could you spam share the video anymore? One second. I'm so annoyed with the facts that there's so many different things, products named Copilot. Yeah, I really don't understand what Microsoft was doing. That, well, there was some dude that was like absolutely like spamming the chat, like sharing the video a million times, that shared the live video. I don't know if their button got stuck, but it was just like spamming the chat and pushing down everyone's chat in TikTok. Couldn't see it. Anyway. And I looked at the user and it looked like a bot. So it was like, nope, next. Tried Pop OS, liked it a lot. It just had a lot of trouble with my triple monitor setup. I have a triple monitor setup. I have 3 monitors. One of them's vertical. I don't know what your issue is. And I'm on an NVIDIA GPU to boot. So maybe time to switch to Tor as my daily. No, it's not really. It's never a day to switch to Tor as your daily browser. Tor is just rewrapped Firefox that has the Onion router on it. You can just use Firefox and disable a bunch of the features, or you can go to like something like LibreWolf, or what is there, Waterfox. There's a few forks of Firefox that aren't just Tor. Like, yeah, you got, Florp. I forgot about Florp. I always forget about Florp. So there is a nice alternative to Firefox. Been using Water for a while. Water's nice. But, Florp is one that I learned about from, the Linux experiment. It's apparently a fork of Firefox with some enhancements. Let me pull this up for a second. All right, let's just go to like CNN.com. Oh, probably helps if I show this. Florp. This is a Firefox fork. I haven't used it in a minute. I had it installed on my machine, but I forgot about it. But yeah, this is Florp. You got this little bar over on the side. And you gotta get my extensions. Hold on. So let's get Dark Reader. See? Using the same extensions. And boom. Oh, you want ad blocks and all that? That's the other reason why I prefer Firefox is, you know, Chrome is killing the ability for you to do ad blocks and everything. You block Origin. And look at that. Oh, now I have to enable DRM. I forgot about that. Now, this is admittedly, I think, running an old version of Firefox. Yeah, this is the flat pack. Yeah, the banner ads are horrible. Is installing the components. Okay, yeah. So if I go help about Florp. Florp. What version are we on right now? Florp 11.23. Help about. Okay, so I'm like one increment behind. Okay, cool. Which version is the... Nope, it's updated. Oh, I just gotta okay, that's cool. The Manifest v3 change affects all Chromium-based browsers as well, right? No, not necessarily. So, Chromium-based browsers like Brave, they're not affected because they manually choose to include Manifest v3. But here is the catch. All the Chromium-based browsers are using the extensions for the most part off the Chrome store. So the question is, can Google do, will Google stop the ability for you to have V2 Manifest plugins on there? That's the issue. Yeah, it is a kind of custom thing, but overall I'm talking about Manifest V2, V3 as a whole. And then there's other complaints I have with Brave, like, I don't necessarily like the fact that Brave has a cryptocurrency wallet built into the browser. It's just one of those things like, why do we need to add this unnecessary junk? That's my perspective. You can take it or leave it. But my opinion is that a browser should be a browser, and if you want a cryptocurrency wallet inside your browser, find an extension for it, like MetaMask. But I digress. Wanted to use Arch browser, but it's Chrome based. Yeah, that's the problem, is all the browsers are pretty much Chromium based. That I purposely like to, out of principle, find a web browser that isn't Chromium based. And the only alternative seems to be the ones powered by the Gecko engine, a la Firefox and its subsequent forks. Understanding most are LLMs and not true AI. Yeah, I hate the fact that we have to explain to people that the AI that we know it as isn't AI as we understand it to be. When I think of artificial intelligence, I think of something that has the sentient capability to understand what it is and what it is doing and have sense of self. An LLM is merely just the latest iteration of garbage in, garbage out. An LLM is only as good as the data it is trained on. Whereas, in my opinion, true AI, general AI, has the ability to not just learn, but unlearn what it has learned. You see what I mean? Part of the human experience that makes us able to thrive and evolve is being able to challenge a lot of our preconceived notions and change our views based upon new information coming out. However, LLMs are a little bit more rigid, where it's gonna, for the most part, stick to the guns based on the information it's trained on. But at the same time, many LLMs don't have the capability of learning. You can attach memory to it to learn the nuances and variables of things that you've put in, but that doesn't change that if I were to wipe that memory out, it would resort back to its default programming. Make sense? You're going to try to force my calculus class to use Proctor U, root access proctoring. Fuck that! I thought the internet infrastructure was run by furries. We probably do use screwdrivers, though. Wait, did I miss something? Oh, yeah. Your chatbot is preloaded to reset passwords and not getting operating on any of that. Okay. Wait, am I missing? Oh, yeah. I'm just catching up on the chat. Sorry. I kept losing track of which monitor is which, and I'd have to reset it every restart. Yeah, I had the similar issue with NVIDIA. The trick was set the monitor settings in the NVIDIA settings. So what I would do is, I remember I had to give this some kind of permissions or something because there was some kind of bug. As you can see, I technically have 4 monitors because I have an interesting display configuration. So there's 4 monitors. Now what I have to do is the capture card is capturing 1 monitor. Okay? Move this over for the TikTok peasants. I know you're my majority of my audience, but the experience is better over on Twitch and YouTube. Anyway. Oh, okay. I was making sure that YouTube chat was coming through, and it was. I was just older. Okay, anyway. So, NVIDIA settings, what you do is you set your displays how they want to appear in here. Then you apply it in there. Now, the hope is that since the new Pop OS coming out is going to be on Cosmic DE and using Wayland, a lot of these issues should go away. Once this was set up, then I apply it. Now every reboot, the monitors are the same until I happen to turn off this computer with the capture card, then the monitors all get weird and moved around. But then it comes right back when, so, totally get, what you're talking about there. There's just weird nuances here and there with different things I noticed, but I found workarounds. But that issue I think had more to do with the NVIDIA side of things than anything. Also, I think I wasn't compatible with Linux LMAO. Probably. At one point, my uni tried... Oh, they protested so they gave up. Oh, I would totally understand that. Like, here's my argument. Pardon me. If you, as a school that I am paying money to, require me to install software on my computer that requires root privileges, then I'm going to ask you to do one of two things. Either A, provide me a dedicated laptop for school. And that should be taken out of the tuition money that I give you. Or B, you should only have testing at testing centers that we then have to go into. And use the college's computers or testing centers like Pearson or something like that. They won't do that. With Proctorio, it was literal spyware. Got it communicating with other devices too. That ain't good. Option A isn't a good solution either, really. I don't want to pay even more for some piece of waste we do testing on. No, you didn't hear me. I am paying the school thousands of dollars per quarter, per semester. Use some of that money to give me a laptop. Like a basic-ass Chromebook. Doesn't have to be fancy. To do the tests out of. That's my answer there. Realistically, option B. But yeah, I think they're getting a little too out of hand and a little bit too crazy with, well, we're just going to have root access to your device and do whatever the hell we want. Look, I'm not installing a rootkit for my damn game. I'm not installing a rootkit for a bunch of stuff. The only damn reason I could justify root level access of software is simple. It has to be actually security related. Not a video game, not a test. We're talking antivirus. We're talking zero trust network access software. Yeah. I just said there's option A and option B. I prefer option B. But I'm saying, if we're in the situation where it's a remote-only class, then option A should be an option. They're a bunch of Marxists. What do you expect? Nah, that ain't an issue of Marxism. Because that would actually be more of an example of unfettered capitalism, if anything. Where you let anyone go run amok because of tech rights and all that. Not tech rights, private property rights and things like that. 50 computers will cycle through people to do testing rather than fit 200 computers for everyone. Yeah. Look, when I went to school, you know what I had to do to go take a test? I'd have to show up to college, take the test at college. Or they actually gave, now let me make this clear. They gave us the option of getting a laptop from the school that we could use for all of our class lab work and everything. But again, it's an option. Now, the cool thing was, that was our laptop to keep and own. So once we finished class, that was ours. Why not? Cheating, but the software companies take out 2 hours. Yeah, that's the problem is, we're allowing everyone to take advantage of this too much. And you know why? You know why they're okay with it? And why they think we'll be okay with it? Because a lot of you schmucks are like, I'm going to play this video game even though it has a kernel level anti-cheat. And I'm going to justify that this game needs kernel level anti-cheat. So guess what happens? The reality is, what ends up happening is, all these software companies that are trying to create other kinds of anti-cheat software, in this case, not cheating on a laptop, on an actual test, are like, well, you know, these kids are playing video games, and they're totally fine with having kernel level access for Valorant, for League of Legends. Then we can totally justify kernel level anti-cheat to stop cheaters with schoolwork. And now you start understanding why I have been so pissed off at people that are just so flippantly okay with video games having kernel level anti-cheat and making arguments like, well, it's to stop cheaters in a video game. So, you kind of did this to yourselves, guys. Because now you get yourself in this weird situation of, you know, I'm totally fine with League of Legends or, you know, Apex Legends adding a kernel level anti-cheat or anything, but I'm not okay with this actual testing software for an exam at my school having kernel level anti-cheat. Do you realize how weird of a conundrum that is? Because I would actually make the argument that the anti-cheat software to check for cheaters on tests actually is a more valid use case than a kernel-level anti-cheat in a video game. Doesn't mean I agree with it. And before you cut you off at the pass. So, I'm just making the point of, that is a weird situation where people are suddenly like, you know, it's invasive for my school to be able to spy on my computer to see if I'm cheating on a test, instead of just finding more ethical ways to do this. But this video game over here that's completely free, that just gives me entertainment value and does not actually provide any way to enhance my life whatsoever, it's totally fine having kernel level access to my computer. What's up, Beehive? How you doing? Proctorio having kernel level access to Windows to monitor cameras, mics, USB devices, monitors. That's weird. Like, if you worry that much, get a proctored exam and have them put their ass in a seat. Monitor them the old-fashioned way. What's up, Ninja? How's it going? It's a bit of a slope with permissions going further and further. But also, like, if you wanted to cheat, there's so many other ways around it. Another computer overlays. Oh, yeah, there's totally. And that's the thing, you know, people have to understand is there's millions of ways to catch a cheater. That doesn't mean we should find unethical ways to stop unethical people. Yeah, cheaters in video games will always find another way. So, like, now you have video games that are talking about, kernel level anti-cheat isn't enough. We need to go deeper. Are your headphones the 80 hertz or 200? Do you mean ohm? Not hertz? These are 250 ohm. Security through thoughts of USB, physical drive, redirection, and RDP, including local webcam redirection. Well, the honest truth is that at work we disable most USB devices down to the point like only certain webcams and stuff are accepted. That's what you're going on. That was a hilarious first line to join on. How much deeper can they go for anti-cheat? BIOS level? Yeah, that's basically what they're doing. So, I believe it was Vanguard. I have to remember where I was reading about this, but I actually talked about this in my YouTube video. Kernel level anti-cheat is dumb. Something like that. It's a kernel level anti-cheat video. I think they called it dumb and a disaster waiting to happen. Vanguard is talking about how they want to require IOMMU. IOMMU, for those of you that don't know, is basically how you can have it directly access the hardware. It's part of virtual machines. So I like IOMMU in terms of my virtual machine. But now we're hooking into CPU extensions designed for virtualization to directly access hardware below the operating system. That's a little bit worrisome. I really think IOMMU is something that should be left alone to virtual machines. Kernel level anti-cheat has no reason to touch that stuff. Hell, kernel level anti-cheat as a whole shouldn't exist. You ever have your brain think one thing then say another? All the fucking time. You think the CISSP worth it? For me, it was worth it because my job paid for it. Best way to learn Linux. Boss want me to learn the mount and stuff and learn ERH. Simple. Use Linux. Live in it. Force yourself to do things in it. Hell, why do you think that I game on Linux? It's not just because I like Linux, but because I can save money now and everyone could eat. Getting money in the daytime, even kinda when I sleep. Wake up to getting bread, bitch, I do this for the streets. ADHD. Thank you for that sub over there, 1989 Tay-Tay. I'm looking to get my CISSP. Any recommendations? Study. That's all I can recommend is study. Don't worry about additional materials other than the official CISSP study guide from ISC Squared. I think we're on the 10th edition now. They just had a new one in 2024 that was made. The other thing I would do is... Hold on. There is an app from LearnZ app. This guy. This app right here. It'll cost you about $15 a month for the full version, but you can do a ton of practice tests. Do many practice tests. Get yourself prepared. It's more of a confusing English test than anything, to be honest. But I think it's worthwhile if your job ideally pays for it. But I don't think it's necessarily something, just like all certifications, you should go out of your way just to get that. What app is this? LearnZ, letter Z, or as some of you in the world called Zed app. They have a CISSP app that also doubles as CCSP. I will be using that app again for getting my CCSP. I'm planning to go for my CCSP, hopefully the second half of this year. Wait, what did you say? Trying to catch up. Bill paid my AWS CO3 architect solution today. Oh, that's nice. Blah, 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 blah. be allowed at all, that would open up so many new hardware vulnerabilities. And that's the problem with kernel level anti-cheat has been talking about it. It's a disaster waiting to happen. We already saw how Genshin Impact's anti-cheat was co-opted to be part of a attack chain. And to make that very clear, it wasn't using Genshin Impact's anti-cheat from someone who had the game installed. They took the kernel level anti-cheat and used it as part of the attack to disable your antivirus. So you didn't need Genshin Impact installed. It installed the anti-cheat as part of the attack and then used the anti-cheat as part of the mechanism to infiltrate the system. Even worse, apparently a ethical hacker did research to try to get the company behind Genshin Impact to fix this issue over a year before it happened. Gaming companies are not security companies. And if many people out there are already talking about how CrowdStrike and other antivirus companies have no reason having kernel level access, not that I agree with that sentiment, there are use cases for it in terms of security. Then if you're making that argument, what argument do video games have? If they do implement hardware level anti-cheat, I just won't buy the games that require it anymore. Oh, absolutely. But did you know that there was actually a dongle that you used to have to install in video games for some of them? Let me look this up. I remember reading it, not reading it, it was on one of those retro gaming websites. There was a dongle for a video game. Piracy. There was a game that I think had a serial dongle. There we go. RoboCop 3. Okay. So I'm not going to pull up the video, but yeah, Modern Vintage Gamer. Had a video that covers it. I'm trying to see if I can get just the image of the dongle so you can see it. There we go. So when you got RoboCop 3, it had this little dongle. Can't get a real good picture of it. I think that went into your serial port, if I'm not mistaken, and if you didn't have the dongle, the game wouldn't run. Very, very early, primitive version of anti-piracy. Have access to, like, GPS data and more. Oh, yeah, definitely. I ain't no Linux expert, but what I know came from just trying to get to games run on Ubuntu a decade. Yep. You mean my laptop every time I wake it up? Plus the 500 policies on startup. My question is, why do they need kernel level access and hardware level access? That's the thing, is they don't need it. They don't need it. And that has been my complaint every time. And every fucking gamer under the sun that actually is for kernel level anti-cheat doesn't fucking know about security and computers as a whole. The reality is, a lot of this can be defeated through server-side anti-cheat. A lot of it. Here's the reality. I'm saying a lot of it, but you're never going to stop 100% of cheaters. Yeah, but, like, I don't even have the option to work from home, so why the hell should they have access to that info? I agree with that. I've been working from home for almost 5 years now. That's nice. I don't think I could ever do full work from home. I like the idea of going into the office once in a while. to actually interface with people, and there are ways that it works better. I like the hybrid model. I don't think I would ever be happy with a fully in-office setup, which is where I hear a lot of businesses are going. But I like the hybrid model. If they go fully return to office, that's gonna be pissing me off because we barely have enough room at the office as it is. They're growing so much. I like how everybody hate the tax limit because of working in a municipality. That's a valid argument. I luckily work in the same tax district and everything of where my office is, so I get you. It's a lot of discipline for work from home. It does, because you can very easily get distracted. And the problem is, I've got my dogs, I've got my gym, I've got all my tinkerings. You can very easily get distracted from doing what you actually need to do, as well as collaborate a little bit better with coworkers. And not to mention, I do like the ability to go out to lunch with my coworkers, bond with them a little bit better. So it feels like there's actually, some relationships there, and we can go drinking and have a little bit of fun. I would have loved to be in the boardroom when they discussed that cereal dunkel. The amount is going to cost money in each box. Well, you have to remember, before this, there were no actual protections. I mean, there were things like find the passcode in the manual, find the word, and on page 3, 3 lines down, 4 words in, what's the word? Because floppies aren't protected media, and they were rewrite media. So if you had your game on a floppy, anyone with 2 floppy drives could copy the floppy, and it wouldn't be anything complex. It would literally be put floppy in, if it's not formatted already, format it, copy, A to B. Literally, A drive to B drive. On DOS, but you get my point. But yeah, there's a lot of boneheaded decisions that have happened with anti-piracy, anti-cheat, and things like that. I'm not really happy with the direction that kernel level anti-cheat went or is going, but I do like the fact that Valve took a stand and is requiring video game companies to announce when they actually use kernel level anti-cheat. Because let me tell you straight up, if I go into a Steam game and it says it's using kernel level anti-cheat, I'm not buying it because it won't work on Linux. But number 2, ethically, I'm not supporting that shit. As far as I'm concerned, that is the perfect scarlet letter. I love Valve. I love them too. I have no problem preferably buying my games through Valve, knowing my money is going towards improving gaming on Linux. They invest a lot of money into that. Valve gave the Arch Foundation, which oversees Arch, a lot of money and is contributing to help streamline a lot of their build process, because they're trying to get into supporting ARM and such more. And there's efforts as well to get ARM working with a lot of x86 games. Oh god, what if they start putting AI and kernel level anti-cheat? I just gave myself the shivers. I got some bad news for you. I remember reading something about this. You understand, AI there is already things like that. Protect your game with AI anti-cheat. Take your player's gaming experience to the next level. Power up your game with any brain. Cheating detection, fraud detection, age control, seamless identification, fatigue analysis. They're already doing it. People are already adding AI into anti-cheat. So yeah. They're already doing it. Can you play Monster Hunter on Linux yet? Let me see. I haven't tried that. I do need to get back to I need to get back to gaming. It looks like it was working, but then it broke because they updated it, and then it's been this back and forth thing. So let's go to ProtonDB. Yeah. People as of a couple of days ago are reporting that Monster Hunter World, it's got gold status. Monster Hunter Stories, Platinum, Monster Hunter Rise, gold status. So it works. There might be some minor issues, but it works. There was even AI bot detection. I think I remember something. What is your opinion on Game Pass for Linux? Cloud is okay. I don't like the idea of Game Pass from Microsoft. Well, one, Game Pass doesn't really work on Linux because, well, Microsoft wants you to be in their ecosystem. Two, Microsoft is trying to do the embrace, extend, extinguish method that they did that got them in trouble with the Department of Justice and got Bill Gates kicked out, but with video games now. Think about this. Microsoft is buying up game studios left, right, and center. They're shutting down them. They want to become the gaming powerhouse. Why would they want it to work on Linux? It's the same thing as why they're bringing Windows subsystem for Linux onto Windows. A lot of developers would rather develop on Linux than they would on Windows. There's very few people that would also like a Mac, but I digress. Anyway, how do you stop people from leaving Windows entirely so they can keep making money off of the data that is collected through the telemetry and serving ads for the unique ad idea that Windows provides? You introduce Linux tools directly into Windows with Windows Subsystem for Linux. So on a philosophical level, no, I don't like the idea of Microsoft Game Pass because it's Microsoft doing Microsoft things. That's just my 2 cents. Cloud is the future when it is better than the installed games. I don't think it will ever get to that point because the reality is there's always going to be input lag and latency. The amount of time it takes you to input a command into your keyboard or controller or mouse, have that broadcast from your device all the way to the cloud server that does the game, read that input, send all that information back to the machine that is displaying and playing the video game locally to you. There's a lot. There's a lot that goes into it. Now, for like, maybe something like a turn-based strategy or something like that, something that doesn't require much of a delay, there you go. And you're just so good in 50 years we'll feel any difference. No, physics says otherwise. As it is right now, even fiber optic has a little bit of a latency between it. Not everyone lives close enough to a data center for that to be playable. Yeah, pretty much. Not only that, the current fiber optics they slow down the speed of light a little bit. Because light travels, I think, fastest. Yeah. So the speed of light in a fiber optic cable is approximately 2/3 the speed of light in a vacuum. So, yeah. How do you feel about the warp terminal on Windows? I haven't really used it much. I live mostly in Linux, and at work, I haven't gotten that update yet. So, haven't been able to play with it. Don't know. I've been using the Microsoft terminal, though, for a long time, so I can use my Linux and PowerShell and command prompt all in the same thing in tabs. That is a decent app that Microsoft created. And work allowed me to install it because I literally said it's a Microsoft official app. So. Bandwidth can increase unlimited theoretically, but latency has a hard cap. Yep, that's pretty much it. And even when you do have the speed of light, it's not exactly a point-to-point system. There's many hops. Do this experiment. Do a trace route from your computer right now. Not a ping, a trace route. And see how long each hop takes. Because you need to think about this. Okay, you have a fiber optic cable going from your device to there. Well, as of right now, you still have copper circuitry, semiconductors that do the processing and everything there. On your modem, between the switches and all that. Gets relayed on another device that then has to do additional processing to switch it over and everything like that. So it's not just the fiber optic cable is 2/3 the speed of light. You have a few milliseconds at least at each hop. And I'm being very generous there by saying only a few milliseconds. I use only cloud for testing game before installation on mobile. That's fair enough. Remember when Stadia, I tried it and it was fine with even my bandwidth internet, but I think it was luck. Well, yeah, it depends on a myriad of factors. Because there's a lot of people that reported issues with Stadia latency. And one of the things that Google has the capability to do is, this is the same thing Netflix does. They have caching servers to do processing nearby, close to you. So in order to lessen the bandwidth demands on ISPs for the data that goes out over to the, the thick fiber trunks and everything like that out there, they, wow, brain fart. What was I saying? Oh, yeah. They set up caching servers for ISPs at their edge. So that way, when you hit Netflix, you may not actually be watching the show from Netflix's servers. You might be hitting it at one of the edge servers caching on your own ISP deployed by Netflix. This isn't like me making shit up. Let me show you this. If I can find this. There you go. Right there on Netflix's own site. It's called Open Connect. The goal of Netflix Open Connect program is to provide our millions of Netflix subscribers the highest quality viewing experience possible. We achieve this goal by partnering with internet service providers, ISPs, to deliver our content more efficiently. We partner with over 1,000 ISPs to localize substantial amounts of traffic with Open Connect appliance embedded deployments, and we have an open peering policy at our interconnection locations. If you are an ISP with a substantial amount of Netflix traffic, review this information to learn more about the program. So they have the whole idea of getting these boxes cached at the edge for the ISP. And what I theorize basically what they do is they're grabbing that data of what everything is on Netflix and throwing it onto a server. I don't know if it's like, hey, when someone actually requests it from Netflix, first person pulling, then tells the server to cache it, or does it do a pre-pull of everything on Netflix already and then caches it there and then passes it on? I don't know about that specific part. But either way, when you're pulling your Netflix data, you're not necessarily pulling it from Netflix servers directly. Your ISP may be, but your ISP might be providing the actual Netflix content so as to not congest their own lines. Because think about this. You have millions of people that are all watching Netflix and stuff at the same time. How does one accommodate for that bandwidth? Other than having thicker, fatter trunks on the egress. Well, ingress. I think it'd be ingress in this point. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. How does one do a trace route? Just trace route. In Windows, it's trace RT. I do the command here, but hold on. Will this show shit that I don't want shown? Let's see. Trace route. Oh, probably helps if I install it. But yeah, you just use the command trace route. On Windows, it's trace route RT, trace RT, and then put your destination in, and it will do all the hops and the calculations of how long it runs. It's a great way to diagnose if you have an issue with your connection. Everyone thinks too much about ping. Ping is one aspect, because ping tells you how long it takes you to get from A to B. But a lot of people don't understand. It's actually more like an A to E, A to F, A to G. Because you have to worry about... Let's think topographically about my house. My computer has to pass through my firewall. The firewall then connects to the modem. I mean, there's a switch in between. I'm oversimplifying things a little bit, but basically, once it leaves my LAN address, it has to worry about the next thing. So from my modem, there's a switch on their end. That switch might connect to another switch, which might connect to another switch, which might connect to another switch, until it hits their firewall on their end, which then finally hits their server. Those are all the hops in between. And here's an interesting fact. You know how we call our modems modems? The truth is, they're not modems. They're routers. So, that's the thing you need to understand. That's just a little side bit there. Because all it's doing, or not even a router in many cases it's just an adapter. Like my modem, for example, is more or less taking the coaxial connection in DOCSIS and then converting it into an Ethernet connection with an RJ45 end with, in my case, Cat6a shielded, going into my firewall. And then my firewall is connected to my one of my switches. I think it's going into my non-PoE switch. And then the non-PoE switch is connected to the PoE switch. And the PoE switch is connected to the access points. So you have to think about all these hops that go on in a network. No more Apex Legends on Linux. Yeah, that's because EA was a bag of dicks. And here's the thing that, pissed me off about the Apex Legends thing. On one hand, they were saying, Linux users are the main reason for all the cheating and everything, so we have to stop Linux users from playing. But on the other hand, they also said there weren't enough people playing the game on Linux to have really mattered for the player base. So it's like, which is it? Linux users are the main reason for your cheating? Or there's not enough Linux users for the actual gameplay to matter? You can't have your cake and eat it too. Like a relay race. Modulating, demodulating. Pretty much. I was having a blast. I used to like Apex Legends. I used to play it on Linux. I didn't play it much on stream. I do need to get back to playing video games and all that a little bit more. Oh, there's not enough players for them to deem it financially viable to put money into it. And that's the better answer. EA Sports. It's in your wallet. Remember when EA was a great company? Pepperidge Farms remembers. Anyway. So, I'm wondering how low Tesla's gonna go in a week from now. And also, did you eat some member berries? Yeah. No, I just had another random thought thinking about Elon. Elon's financial crisis with Tesla's collapse might actually explain his mental breakdowns and shit he's been going through. His erratic behavior. You have to understand, in my perspective, Elon Musk and Donald Trump needed to get into politics for the same reason. It's the only way for them to save their empires. Because they need to make a playing field that's more favorable to them. The reality is, I think it's just not going to save Elon. Well, because Elon also, what is it? There's probably going to be a lawsuit over the FAA's change. They were working on upgrading a system. Now, they already had a $2.4 billion contract with Verizon to do this. They just canceled that contract and handed it to Starlink. And let me make this extremely, extremely clear. That is a horrible fucking decision for multiple reasons. Starlink is a viable option for internet as an absolute last resort. Make that very clear. Starlink is a viable option if you have no other choices. I would use a 5G internet before I would use Starlink. Now, Starlink does have better performance than other satellite providers, but you don't need Starlink for a lot of things, and Starlink doesn't do hardwired connections. Verizon, however, does hardwire and cellular. So they can build a lot of good backups, and most airports are within range of a cell tower. And I find it extremely hypocritical. Not caught up on this Verizon v Starlink change. This is for the connection planes. No. This is not for planes. So let's make this very clear. Verizon can't help planes in this regard. Planes use a system called ADSB for transferring information. Now, there is another system inside of planes for those going overseas to have satellite internet. When you're using most planes in a domestic capacity, there is a ground internet setup that can actually broadcast internet from the ground to the plane. But there's a more expensive system to do satellite to the plane. That's why if you ever do an international flight, internet on an international flight is absolutely ridiculous, but internet on a domestic flight is cheap. That's why. And it's like, the hardware behind there is like tens of thousands of dollars. The thing is, no, there's not really a legitimate argument for connections for planes via Starlink, Because the reason why is Starlink, from my understanding, can't track a plane. What I mean by that is, planes are going at, what's Mach 1? They're going at, like, what? Usually Mach 0.9 or something like that. At most. Speed of average commercial plane. Okay, the average commercial flight is between 547 and 575 miles per hour. Okay? So, how fast can you drive with Starlink? This is what I'm curious about. Starlink satellites are always moving at the speed of 4.8 miles per second relative to Dish. So Starlink in motion is only rated for up to 100 miles per hour. Satellite, it's not fast enough to track on a plane. Let's put it that way. Can some passenger planes break the sound barrier? Yes. They don't exist anymore right now. So, it's actually cool because I was actually watching a video on some science stuff. So, one second. There was a plane when I was growing up. I think it was the Concorde. I believe run by Air France. It ran so fast that it would create sonic booms. And the issue with supersonic flight is the sonic boom. And for those of you not aware what the sonic boom is I'm not an aeronautical expert, but I know at least a little bit about this. I'm actually studying to get my pilot license. I actually am doing that because I found out to do commercial drone flight, including, this is a good thing to know, if you ever plan to get a drone and make any money off of it, not just for, taking photos or anything, but you say you use a drone for a YouTube video to take footage, you must be licensed by the FAA. So that's kind of why I'm doing it. As well as the fact that I kind of have to take more or less a lot of the same tests and requirements to get a regular plane. So I'm like, why the fuck not? Anyway, I'm in the middle of ground school for that. It's going to take me a few weeks. While I'm studying for my ham radio. While I'm also going to do my CCSP at the second. I got a lot of shit on my plate. Anyway, so the sonic boom is basically when you're moving faster than the speed of sound, pressure builds up. Does not apply to all drones. Oh, but it does. According to the FAA. If you're using a drone for personal purposes, just to have your own entertainment and everything, totally fine. But if you're making any money off of it, you do. They've changed the rules. And by making any money off of it, I mean, like, are you making any content and you're going to make $1 off of it? Yep. Are you taking photos for someone that's paying you money for it? Yep. Commercial droned flight requires an FAA license, apparently. Anyway, question is how high you can fly with a drone. The majority of people that are, like, let me put it this way. The majority of the drones that people use for commercial photography Like, those cool little zoom out shots and all that people use with drones? That requires a license. And they're getting tighter on it, by the way. The FAA is going to push for more and more requirements for it because of how people are irresponsibly using drones. If we fucking were just responsible and stopped being immature assholes, they wouldn't be this much of a dick about it. So it's one of those situations of, I don't like that they're doing it, but I understand why they're doing it. So me personally, I'm trying to be on the right side of the law. Anyway, sonic boom. You're going faster than the speed of sound. You're creating this pressure, basically, that builds up, and then when that pressure is released, you have a boom. Now, there was a new test that was recently done with, I think, an experimental aircraft that they figured out the direction of, like, a few things. They figured out how you could actually use computers now, and, in a good way, AI, to calculate the pitch and whatever of the plane, so you could potentially bounce the sonic boom off of higher parts of the atmosphere so people won't actually get sonic booms. Because these sonic booms would shatter windows. Yes, the sonic boom not reaching the ground thing. Exactly. Now, the reason why the Concorde couldn't accomplish this was the Concorde was a feat of engineering very much ahead of its time, and it was mostly an analog process. So if we can incorporate this technology in, we can essentially speed up flight. And not only that, like, how fast was let me check this, Concorde flight time. The Concorde's flight time between London and New York was about 3.5 hours, which was much faster than the usual 8 hours for subsonic flights. The Concorde's record-breaking flight time from New York to London was 2 hours, 52 minutes, and 59 seconds in 1996. So, do you know how much this would revolutionize travel? It would be way more expensive flying at that speed, though. Not necessarily. Let's think about this in terms of numbers. If you have a manned aircraft with skilled pilots and everything, and you have that plane only able to fly that specific plane 2 times per day, 8 hours each of flights. You probably got your pre-flights and all of that of a few hours, plus rotation of crew, things like that. That plane can probably only be in operation for 2 flights a day in an intercontinental flight. Now, you have a supersonic flight doing the same flight, let's just be generous here, 4 hours. You can now have 4 times as many flights, potentially, in a 16-hour span, with flight checks and everything going on there. The math isn't, there. Supersonic passenger flight is technically possible, demonstrated by the Concorde, but however, faces challenges due to technological requirements. Aircraft and engines must be specifically designed for supersonic speeds, sonic booms. Yeah. So eventually, there will be supersonic flight that fixes a lot of these issues. What's up, Cinty Pinky? How's it going? What are we talking about? Everything and anything. Right now, we're talking about planes. I don't know. If you can't tell, I've kind of been a guy that's into aviation for a while. I mean, if this doesn't tell you anything. Y'all have seen my DEF CON aviation space, my Aerospace Village badge, right? I think I showed y'all this before, maybe a long time ago. This was the badge from DEF CON's Aerospace Village that has an ADS-B tracker built into it. I like plane watching. I'm a weird guy. I don't think I'll be taking this badge anywhere but home, but I do want to build an ADSB station in my house and everything like that again. I haven't done that in a while. That was actually how I started with all of my radio tinkering and everything, was I messed with the SDRs and stuff. I feel like it wouldn't actually scale like that, and flights are expensive as it is. I feel like most people would prefer to save a couple $100 for a few hours' time. You really don't understand the saying, time is money. There's a lot of people that value their time a lot more. You have $200 for a flight saved to... Okay, let me put it this way. How many people pay for fast passes at Disney World? Or the fast passes at, any theme park or anything like that? Yes, there's people that won't spend the money on it, but how many people buy these fast passes? And why do they do that? To save themselves time. So don't think that, most people won't do that, because, God, I wish I could tell you about some things. I feel like that's not a fair comparison. No, it is a fair comparison. You're talking about an even less valuable thing to save money. You're talking about something for pure entertainment value versus people are on a flight because they want to go there. They either have a business occasion, maybe they are going on, family affair. Let's say you have someone that is actually, you have a loved one passing. This is a very real situation that could happen. People that are overseas, that have their family overseas. There's a death in the family. There's a family emergency. Time is money. If you ever work in the world of business, time is a very valuable thing. And not even just in the world of business. Let's put this to understand. Time is the one thing you can spend but never get back. And a lot of people value their time. Yeah, there will always be people willing to pay more, especially when it comes to something of status, even those who can't really afford it will make a way to get it. People don't remember. They used to make the same argument about prop planes to jet planes. When's the last time you've flown on a propeller-powered plane that wasn't a private Cessna or something like that? We're talking commercial. Most commercial planes are jets. Because why? They're faster. Now, at first, when this comes out, yes, it will be expensive. But like everything, technology gets streamlined, it gets a little bit cheaper, more efficient, and prices go down. Yeah, but when's the last time you've actively taken a prop flight? The only propeller-powered planes I've seen are usually in small charters. Most of the commercial prop planes have gone away. TSA pre-check was great. You could save time, but if everyone buys pre-check, then it becomes redundant. Yes and no. Because at the end of the day, even if everyone gets pre-check, guess what? It's still quicker to move in the line when you don't have to take your shoes off, don't have to take your belt off, don't have to take the laptop out of the bag, and you don't have to go through a bunch more documentation checks. Trust me, as someone who has pre-check. And I've been in that situation. If you've ever been in the Vegas airport, after DEF CON, there's tons of people in the pre-check line. And that pre-check line moves way faster than the regular line. I'm currently in automotive, and 99% of things requires computers. It's crazy. Oh, yeah. Yeah. The Vegas airport is horrible. Oh, yeah, it's absolutely horrible. So, let me give you a stupid story here. I flew into DEF CON, this last DEF CON, was my first time going to the DEF CON shoot, because the year before I didn't fly in time to be at the DEF CON shoot, whereas this past time I went to B-Sides, went to the pool party both nights, and also had time to go to the DEF CON shoot for at least the second day of B-Sides instead. All right. This is my first time. I've never been to the range out in DEF CON or anything like that. So I not only flew in with my firearms for the DEF CON shoot, legal to do for those of you that don't know, as long as you can, legally have them. And I brought ammo. You're allowed to fly with ammo, by the way. Not in your carry-on. It's a checked thing, okay? Had a whole separate locked container for everything. Every gun case, every ammo case was locked. I flew in, I think, with about 20 pounds of ammo. Legally speaking, you're only supposed to have 10 pounds of ammo. They didn't check it when I flew out of my state. But when I flew back in, because I bought more ammo at the range in DEF CON, my ammo case and ammo came to 10.1 pounds. 10-pound limit for ammo. They literally made me take my ammo out of the box, weigh it just in the paper boxes and plastic cases that all the ammo was in, to confirm that it was 10 pounds. That's how bad the Vegas airport is. Oh, and there was the time before that. I flew in with a good dual ratchet cobalt screwdriver. Didn't have a problem with it. It was in my carry-on, by the way. That was in my carry-on. I usually carry my tools with me. My soldering iron, all that stuff. Just fire a few rounds to save some weight. Yeah, sure. Get a free night and 3 meals and a cot and 3 meals while you're at it in prison. If an M&M vending machine that never works, that's a funny thing to know. But like, okay, so I flew into DEF CON with a cobalt screwdriver. There's a long, regular-sized screwdriver, as many of you could imagine. It technically was too long for TSA. I flew in with that screwdriver. I also flew in with sunscreen. Flying out of Vegas, they made me turn over the screwdriver and made me give over the sunscreen. The same sunscreen and screwdriver that I had flown into Vegas with. It makes no damn sense to me. There is so much inconsistency. And to add insult to injury, I just remember this. When I flew out to DEF CON, I got pulled by TSA for what's in my bag because of all the tools and everything. Look, I kind of expect, even with TSA pre-check, my backpack that has my laptop and tools usually is going to get flagged. Look, a soldering iron looks like a sharp stabby object, and an iFixit kit with needle nose pliers and, tweezers and all that looks like a weapon. It does. They saw the screwdriver, put it back in the bag, and sent me on the plane. That same screwdriver got stopped in Vegas. Nope, can't do it. I hate the Vegas airport. But, yeah. Vegas, annoying as shit. I flew out of San Francisco in 1994 with a GPS. The security guy had never seen one and swabbed me. Wow. They swabbed you for that? Wait, that's pre-Patriot Act. They didn't have regular security in a lot of airports and all that, I remember as a little kid. Well, it was a thing that I remember started in the 1970s after the, I think it was the Entebbe incident with the El Al airplane that was hijacked going to Israel. Never used Vegas Airport, but I hated driving in Vegas. Yeah, Vegas driving sucked. But next year, I'm probably going to have to rent a car for the DEF CON shoot. Now, another cool thing I'm trying to plan to do is I want the next DEF CON shoot to get a lane for the DEF CON shoot for my community. You know, y'all Renegade Penguins. Like, if I make it out to DEF CON, I want to try to reserve a lane so that it's just the Renegade Penguin community. And, you know, we can all hang out, we can all shoot our guns, meet, and, you know, chill out and do what needs to be done at a gun range. But yeah. What is the best way to learn Linux besides what the manual says? You use Linux. You live in Linux. When I moved to Ohio, I had to travel to work with my temporary license. They let me through TSA, no problem. But on the way back from Charlotte, they pulled me aside because it wasn't good enough. And I had to show them my old voided license. Ugh. Yeah, TSA is an immense amount of inconsistency. What is the best way to learn Linux besides what the manual says? You use Linux. You live in Linux. It's no different than a language. How does one learn a language? Simple. You use the language. You converse in the language. The more you use it with people who are speaking the language, the better, more comfortable you become with said language. That's why I often tell people, if you want to learn Linux, rip Windows off your machine, put Linux on it, force yourself to live through it. I did it to myself almost 2 decades ago, and it was way more difficult to use Linux when I started doing it. Let's make that very clear. I got pissed off at Windows Vista, ripped that bitch out, and put it on. What's up, VTuber Nero? How's it going? Swabbed me for 3 hours. Eventually, I walked up to one of the guys with a machine gun and a firewood. 12 reloads later. Stream and chat finally work now. I'm currently studying JavaScript. Oh my god. I feel sorry for you. Yep, you know what that is? That is just some straight
emotional, damn it!
Sorry, Miss Jackson.
Yep, learned Sun OS in 1996. I have days I love it, then days I want to cry.
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
Why would someone use Arch Linux instead of Debian? Because they want to feel special and their parents never actually showed them any love. Fight me, chat! Fight me! Arch users want bleeding edge and don't care about fixing shit. Yeah, pretty much. Here's the thing. I am an Arch Linux guy. So what you're saying is, you're the CrossFit vegan of Linux whose parents never loved them appropriately, so now you need to make yourself feel special. I'm sorry. I know.
Emotional, damn it!
Arch user equal power bottom betas. See, you know.
Oh, that's when I smack the shit out you. I smack the shit out. That's
Yes, I am vegan and use Arch. Yeah. So, an Arch user, a vegan, a Bitcoin user, and a CrossFit exerciser all walk into a bar at the same time. Who talks first? What's your preferred shell for system administration? I'm a bit out of date. I'm a basic bitch. I just use the regular basic ones that come with the OS installed. Here's the thing you're gonna learn is they all basically do the same shit. We just use the one that comes out of the box with computer, or the Linux distribution you use, and that's it. Even according to studies, they've proven that most Linux users don't even customize their desktops. I don't even do it. Like, my desktop is literally installs Pop OS, turns on dark mode, throws on wallpaper, and then I think I just changed the launcher function. That was like the only thing. Because I like the Mac-like UI. I do like Mac for their UI. I just hate every fucking else thing about it. Desktop is not the terminal good enough. I can't play Wolfenstein, the New Colossus, in terminal. Can't install Snapd. I'm an Arch type. Flatpak, my buddy. Flatpak. I don't even use snap packages. I use Flatpak. Flatpak is better. Flatpak is more open. Flatpak. He's the boss. Hey, at least Mac is better than Windows. I wouldn't really say that. You can do more with a Windows computer now than you can with a Mac. Now, let me give you some, clarity here. Mac was better than Windows until they switched away from PowerPC. Mac used to be the computer I would tell everyone, oh, if you're going to be doing gaming, get a Mac. Oh, you're going to be doing content creation? Get a Mac. You want to make music? Get a Mac. You want to do graphic design? Get a Mac. Video editing? Get a Mac. Like, the Mac used to be the everything computer. Like, no joke. And then Apple got too full of themselves. The M1 ARM chips rock, dude. No, they don't. I can't run my virtual machines on a lot of their shit. The M1 still has a lot of compatibility issues for a lot of the things I use. And they're overpriced. If Apple were to drop the prices on their laptops by 1/3, we might have an argument. But in terms of the price to performance ratio, they suck. I also made lots of use of bash arrays. There's a lot you can do with different things. Snap packages suck. It stands in the way of FOSS mentality. Yeah, I don't like snap packages. Okay, let me put it this way. If I remember correctly, theoretically, Snap does provide better isolation. But I do agree, I like flat packs because they're more open, because Snap really only works in the canonical supported things. Yeah, and the RAM M4 Mac Mini Base Edition, pretty compelling price to performance. Nope, I went through the price performance comparison already, and like he's saying, Torvo said, the lack of upgradability with RAM ruins it. And that's what really kills me with Mac, and what turned me away. I have a MacBook Pro. It's actually down here somewhere. Here. Wait, no, not that laptop. Where the fuck? I really need to move all of my technology around. I'm slowly cleaning my place, okay? Okay. This was, I think, the second to last year that Apple had of non-soldered memory. Mac used to be a very good value proposition because it was like, just get the Mac with the CPU that you need, get the base hard drive and the base memory. Then go to Micro Center, get Mac compatible memory, and get the hard drive with the size you needed. And hell, if you wanted, Otherworld Computing sold a kit. You could take the DVD drive out of this and put another hard drive in. This laptop, I mean, the hard drive in here is shot now, but this laptop, I bought and upgraded with a 500 gig and then later 750 gigabyte SSHD, a solid state hybrid disk. It was a hard drive with 8 gigabytes of flash memory for caching. And it made this thing wicked fast. And then you do memory, and I think this laptop was supposed to only be able to support 8 gigabytes of memory, but I figured out it could support 16. And I did that for far less than buying that configured model from Apple. But when Apple moved to soldered components, it increased the price of everything. Your memory went bad, replace the entire motherboard. Your CPU went bad, replace the entire motherboard. Anything went bad, replace the entire motherboard. And they priced the motherboard so expensive that you end up wanting to just buy a new computer for the price. Mac Mini M4. Let's see the price of this thing. Okay, so let's see. All right. $999. That's still a little bit expensive for 24 gigs of memory. But here's the reality. 16, bare minimum to be able to function. So, okay. We'll probably need to go to the, just want to see, what's the max memory this will support? 32. Then we're probably going to need at least 1 terabyte. Yeah, you're at $1,400 right now. And just to make this very clear, what I'm asking for here, 1 terabyte of storage and 32 gigabytes of memory, that's not outlandish. But realistically, you want more performance, right? Wait, does it only support up to... Okay, so the M4 Pro at $1,400 now allows me to get... Okay. To give this an idea, all right? We're not even going to give the best CPU. You're at $2,200. I think my machine over here, with an NVIDIA 3070, 64 gigs of memory, a 16-core, 32-thread CPU, costs just around this much money if I removed the neon and customization from the case. Yeah, that's the problem, is anyone that's actually doing work needs actual performance. Like, no joke, if you're doing, like, genuine work on a computer, the laptops at work that we give out, the standard laptop config that everyone gets from developer to all that, Core i7, 32 gigabytes of memory, 1 terabyte NVMe. That's the standard laptop we give to everyone. And if you happen to be one of the, like, 150 people in a several thousand people large organization that is allowed to have a Mac, you get an M series CPU with 32 gigabytes of memory and a 1 terabyte NVMe. That is basically par for the course. And both of these boxes right now, 64 gigabytes of memory. This laptop has 8. But once I get to my RK3588, you know which one I'm picking out? 32. The new laptop that I have coming in, I want to show you this, all right? Give me a sec to find the Blue Sky post. It's also on Mastodon, too. But I'm already on Blue Sky right now, so we're just going to scroll through here. All right, here we go. There's love nowhere, just get an S. The home computer, anyway. If it's a home computer, then you don't need a Mac for a lot of that shit. And you wouldn't really need... Yeah. Computer being a thing, do you think more companies will simply supply bare minimum hardware and just offload major tasks? Yes and no. It depends on the privacy of the things around there. All right. So this is the specs for the new laptop that I should have in my hands in a couple of weeks. This is the laptop, by the way, that I spent extra money to get customized. Okay, so I want you to put into perspective. How much did I spend in this? I think the custom logo... Okay. Yeah, so I spent 130 euro, give or take, just to customize the laptop. Okay? So, knock off 130 euro from that, because that's literally just the, fun design. Hold on. Where the hell did I put... Did I? Oh, come on. Is my server? Oh, there we go. Okay, so. And remember, part of the customization was getting the super key, the start button, to have my logo on it. That was like 30 euro to have it added. And then I'm having my logo laser engraved on the back. All right. So this laptop here, Tuxedo Computers, Stellaris, 96 gigabytes of memory, an NVIDIA 4070 with 8 gigabytes of GDDR6, 2 terabyte Samsung 990 EVO, which I can add another M.2 SSD into later, the custom super key that I talked about, an Intel AX210 wireless card, no Windows, just Linux, 3 years of warranty, and adding a custom logo. Knock off 130 euros off of that, and 99 euros of that $2,300 tag was the shipping. So a little over 2,000 euro for this laptop. You're paying more than double than that on some of these laptops for Mac. With cloud computers being... Oh, yeah, I already answered that. Typo, RTX 4070. Wait, what? Oh. Where did you have that? Oh. My home computers are an M2 MacBook Air and an Epic 9124 with 96 gigabyte. Yeah, the Epics are nice. I wanna... It's one of those things... Is Hackintosh still a thing? Not really as much. The problem is, since Apple switched over to ARM, it's getting harder and harder to get Apple, specific hardware that can work in a Hackintosh related environment. I have a theory that that is part of the reason why they actually wanted to switch to ARM. Some people like OS X. Well, like I said, I like their GUI. I like the Mac-like appearance. You know? Doesn't this look similar? But you can stylize anything to look like it. If you like OS X, run in a VM. Don't need a Hackintosh. Pretty much. Also, there's tons of rent-a-Mac services out there. And I don't mean rent-a-Mac as in rent a physical Mac. You can rent Mac hardware to be run in AWS. And there's many other services out there. So you can remotely connect into a Mac to do whatever you need and not pay for a full Mac. Now, granted, it is a very expensive option, because if you ever look at how AWS does it, I talked to some people that used to work at AWS. They explained to me that unlike Windows, where they're virtualizing it with Windows Server, and it's running in a virtual machine farm on banks and banks of servers, they're literally having you connect to individualized Macs, because you can't virtualize OS X properly. With Windows 10 and later, copy and paste now works consistently. Wait, what? So the honest truth is, a lot of the people that are still using Mac computers are doing it because they don't know any better. And let me cement that point in. I want you to think about all the lies a lot of Mac users tell themselves to justify Mac being better than Windows. Let me give you a few. How many of you heard the myth that Mac doesn't need as much memory as Windows? Wait. Because it uses an ARM CPU. And anyone running Linux knows that's a damn lie. You need just as much memory, in some cases even more memory, when running a RISC type CPU, because it has reduced instruction sets, and sometimes you have to code a little extra, have it do the same thing, because those instruction sets aren't in the CPU. We in the Linux world have known this for many years, because we've been using ARM a lot longer than Mac users have. Or, they don't, this is the other thing I see with a lot of Mac users. They expect their basic Mac computer to be better, to be able to do everything. And when I say everything, I've run into so many issues with people that they get Mac and they don't even get the properly spec'd Mac for what they need to do their thing. For example, my boyfriend, Dietz, he's a full stack developer. Been in the field for like 25 years or so. When he met me, he didn't understand why I kept saying to him, dude, you need more than a Mac for your work, or you need to get a much better Mac. Give you a comparison, when I met him, he had a Core i7 16 gigabyte memory Mac, where he would literally be exhausted of memory and he couldn't run other applications. I literally heard him when working from home in a prior job, where they were so convoluted into accepting that this is just how things are, that he was in a Slack call and talking about the project they're doing, and is like, yeah, I'd show you what I'm working on and how it works right now, but I would either have to hop off this call or close this in order to run this application over there. And I'm like, this is fucking stupid. You're literally saying you can't run another application because you don't have enough resources, and everyone's just shrugging it off like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. It's like, yeah, we totally get it. Like, literally, I saw like a room of 5 people on Slack all just saying, yeah, okay, we get it. You know, this is just reality. You know, because we're on Zoom right now, we can't do that at the same time as rendering a video and with Visual Studio Code up and show the project that you're running on. Do you know what convinced him to switch away from Mac? When I was first tinkering with streaming on Twitch, I think I was actually streaming straight to YouTube back then, to be honest. This is when I was playing with streaming as a whole. I was streaming using OBS on a System 76 laptop that just had a Ryzen 7 5700U CPU, no NVIDIA GPU. 64 gigs of RAM, 1 terabyte NVMe. The laptop's right over there. The one that I use Parrot OS on now. And I had Pop OS on it. I was playing Borderlands 2. I also had a virtual machine up. I completely forgot I had 2 virtual machines running in the background while I was running my OBS stream and Borderlands 2. And what convinced him to switch was apparently when I finished the stream, closed Borderlands, I realized my 2 VMs were still up, and I said, oh, forgot those were running. And I turned off the VMs. And he's like, wait a minute. You just streamed with video processing with no issues, with 2 VMs running, web browsers and all on 2 monitors from a laptop. No, I think there was 1 monitor. I think it was 1. From a laptop. And you're playing a video game at the same time. And immediately after, like shortly after that, he got a Dell Vostro laptop. And he's been running Windows 11 with Windows Subsystem for Linux ever since. He hasn't gone fully into the plunge on Linux. I mean, he knows how to use Linux. He's been using Unix and all that stuff since the 80s, 90s. It's not no sweat off his back. He's just using Windows because he also uses Adobe and a few other things too. Okay. That's honestly, in my opinion, the only reason answer people can give. I'm used to it and I like it. Well, the reality is most people that say that, you know, I'm used to it and I like it, it's more that they're used to it, not necessarily that they like it. I want to submit as an exhibit to that rationale. Windows users. How many people actually like Windows? I'm talking about like straight up. You have no complaints with Windows. It's just great. Or do you use it because you're used to it? And that just happens to be the way that you know to run your applications. So you're just used to the issues with Windows. No one really likes Windows. They like the applications that they can run on it, maybe at most. I must be doing something wrong because I can't get a game to play smooth on a laptop without a GPU. It depends on the video game. Because the AMD CPU and integrated GPU there is really great. What do you think of Doge audits on the government? They're dumb as hell. And as I talked about earlier in the stream, they're clearly an example of Elon Musk trying to salvage his wealth by going after the agencies that were investigating him. If Elon Musk genuinely cared about actually auditing the government and saving money, do you know where I would start? The one part of the government that hasn't passed an audit in decades. The United States military. I wouldn't have started with USAID, who, in the grand scheme of things, I think was 0.5% of the overall budget. To give you a perspective, that's like $50 for every single taxpayer per year. Doge doesn't make sense. And then their like goal is to save $2 trillion in a year. I have a better solution. It's not necessary. Okay, we do need to cut some spending. Don't get me wrong. But they can't do anything in Doge about it. It's not waste, fraud, and abuse that's the issue. It's Congress passing bills that have exorbitant amounts of money and then also giving tax cuts to the rich and wealthy corporations and individuals that should be paying into the system. Therefore, it's a revenue generation issue more so than a spending issue. Not to say that there isn't a spending issue, but there is more of an issue with revenue generation. Where is most of the chat happening? Because it isn't TikTok. I'm on Twitch, I'm on YouTube, and I'm on TikTok at the same time. You caught me red-handed. The game I was playing was Dying Light on a desktop PC i5 8th gen. It works fine. On my i7 13th gen laptop, crashes or frame rate is 5 FPS. I've been hearing issues with a lot of the 13th gen CPUs and stuff like that. Where did you get the Cyber Deck from again? Oh, you talking about the MNT Pocket Reform? So I got this. Here, I'll show you where I bought it when I was when I helped crowdfund this, and I'll show you where you can buy it right now. So I mean, you can technically still buy them through crowdsupply.com, I think. So let me go to. So MNT is crowdfunding their next device over here. The MNT Reform Next, which is a 12.5-inch version of this laptop. Fully mechanical keys, bigger keyboard. I just feel like it's... The only reason I don't like this, I'll bring it up just so we can show. And if you can't tell, that's also where I got my music player. I love this site. This is Nerdvana for all of my tinkering. So I got this from Crowd Supply. I backed this a year and a half ago. This is how I got the IMX8M Plus version. So if you buy it direct through here, it's a little bit more expensive than if you buy it direct through their website right now. Yeah, $1,070. This is their current model they're trying to develop and everything. Anodized aluminum case, 12.5-inch screen, yada, yada, yada. Pretty powerful, and I think this one comes with the, yep, RK3588, which I eventually want to upgrade this little guy to. But the only issue that I had with this was, if I remember, it wasn't that, it was, yep, the Wi-Fi had to be added on top of it, and if I recall, this one didn't have the ability for the cell modem to be added, which to me was a big boon. But with the Crowd Supply, it's still a risk that they wouldn't deliver the product. Kind of, sort of, but MNT's had a good reputation. And Crowd Supply, most of these products do actually get delivered as to compared Kickstarter. Now, here, let me pull that out for a sec. Now, MNT, like I said, they already had a reputation before them. This is not their first laptop they've released. Their first laptop was the MNT Reform. This is kind of the one that started it all and everything. Fully open source. I think the case is plastic and everything. The Reform Next and the MNT Pocket Reform are metal, but, you know, these are really cool. Anyway, the MNT Pocket Reform you can buy from them for $900 fully assembled. Well, 900 euro. Or 850 euro. With some assembly. There's no soldering. It basically just comes as a kit like this, and you can put it all together. Now, they have it come, if you buy it from MNT Direct, with a A311D CPU as the stock option, which only has 4 gigabytes of memory, but is slightly faster than the IMX8M Plus that I have, but has half the memory. You can optionally get the RK3588 in a 16 gigabyte, 128 gigabyte eMMC, and 32 gigabyte memory and 256 gigabyte version. You can get the clicky or linear switches. I have Kale White switches that are clicky. You can get the book if you want. You can add an NVMe if you want in there, or add it later. But yeah. Only 50 euro to save your time. Yep. That's up to you. Some people like to tinker. Some people like to build. And I actually like the fact that mine came fully assembled and everything. But as you can see, 2 battery packs, balance charger over here, hinges, CPU with daughter board. That looks like the Wi-Fi card. And you've, of course, got various different cables here. magnets here to keep the lid closed. Plastic bezel, bottom, battery holders, slots. It's a really nicely designed laptop, but it is definitely more on the open sourcey end of things. So, with that being said, do you expect yourself to probably want to tinker a little bit? This is not the kind of laptop I would recommend anyone just go and buy, without the understanding of it's right to repair in open source for a reason, because you can go through all the parts and tinker and get what you need to do and all of that stuff. Now, what I'm actually looking through right now is trying to see, do they have the optical cable? Yep. Oh, well. They do at least have the Wi-Fi card separately. But their Wi-Fi card is a Asia RF, which is using wireless, what is it? Not wireless B, USB signaling. Now, the other thing you can also do, just for those that are curious, you can buy the adapter bundle for a Pi CM4, and wait, hold on. Yeah, so you can get the Raspberry Pi over here as a little adapter, and you can attach a Compute Module 4 if you want to have it run off a Raspberry Pi. So, I like the laptop. I like the Raspberry Pi. The Banana Pi is not a rear module, so we can offer it as a bundle with the adapter. Huh, interesting. Huh. But, yeah. You can do a lot of tinkering with this laptop. For me, I think it's like the perfect form factor for I was looking for a device that wasn't a phone that I could take to on an airport with me, turn it on, do my documents, do my little work, type up my little work, or let's say I'm in the middle of a cybersecurity conference and I want to take notes. This is so much easier to just type up and take my little notes than it is to do it on a phone. And not to mention, when I get the back plate here with 6061 aluminum to improve the thermals, it's going to match the purple of this case over here, and it's going to have my laser engraved logo on it. Oh, that's just going to look fly as hell. I'm now in the point in my career where it's like, I don't necessarily want to slap stickers on everything to finally personalize my device. I want to have it personalized as my own from the start. Like, there is no reason why, I was looking at the Clockwork Pi U-console before I came across your video on the MNT. I actually was looking at that too. It is an interesting device, don't get me wrong. It is an interesting device. Because, here, we'll just show that for the other people that, don't know what you're talking about. U-console. I remember this device. It was a really interesting idea that I was actually thinking about myself. Do they have a full-on... Yeah, so they have the, It's still in a pre-order state. But let me open this. Field programmable cellular. So CPI 3.15. Hold on, U-console. So it's got integrated 5G Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and a micro SD slot, USB-C charging. It lets you drop in a, what is it? The Raspberry Pi CM4. You can also do a couple of options. The one thing that, like, ruled me out of this option is because the Raspberry Pi Compute Module 4 only had 4 gigabytes of memory, and I was looking for something with a little bit more oomph. Now, it does have a module you can add for 4G. It was an interesting concept, but at the end of the day, the thing that bothered me, it wasn't really too much of a bother, but you see, like, look how small that keyboard is. I don't know how good of a typing experience I'm going to have on it. Don't get me wrong, it looks like an interesting device. If I go to the pre-orders, I can see the different models. Okay, that's good to know. So yeah, the U-Console kit. Don't get me wrong. For the price, it's fucking awesome. You know, you got the U-Console over here. Oh, here we go. So for the price, don't get me wrong, $250, give or take. This isn't bad. The issue that I have with it is I cannot imagine that is going to be a very pleasant typing experience. Don't get me wrong. Whip that out, do some basic stuff, great. But then, this little trackball, that's kind of a weird thing just to be, like, right there. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm kind of tempted to buy one just to play with it. But, yeah. And it's only a 5-inch screen. So it's a great little device. Don't get me wrong. What's your talent? I can talk like gamer. No, I'm cybersecurity engineering. I'm in cybersecurity. I hold a CISSP certificate, which I just got a few months ago. So we do technology, gaming on Linux, and all sorts of tinkering and occasionally 3D printing and stuff. Right now, I'm in the middle of waiting for a company that I'm trying to collaborate with to CNC an aluminum backplate to improve the thermals on this little laptop. They also have one with RISC-V, which was really cool. Yeah, like, don't get me wrong. What Clockwork is doing, really great. The problem is, for me, it just would not fit the bill. It felt like it was going to be another little device that I was going to be like, hey, this is cool, nice, fun to play with, shoves it in a drawer. Just like the Pine phone. Just like the Librem 5 phone. Whereas this device, this is a full-fledged laptop. Like, with full-on proper keyboard, I feel like even as small as this keyboard is... Here, let me see. Can I... Like, even as small as this keyboard is, it feels... It's not as amazing as a typing experience on a full-fledged keyboard like the System 76 Launch Heavy I used. Don't get me wrong. But it is a much more pleasant experience than a lot of the smaller devices I've used. Including, you know, a lot of people love to say, well, this is the funniest thing that I get are the ignorant people that are like, oh, I can do that with a Samsung and DeX and then plug in a Bluetooth keyboard. Do you realize you just paid for more than this laptop cost by doing all that? What, Samsung's what? $600-700 device. Your keyboard's like $50-60. And then on top of it, you're talking about piping that into a bigger screen than your cell phone has. And at that point, it's still not full right to repair, not open source, and just not as friendly. Do I have the Pine Power? Yeah, I still have the Pine Power. Actually, the Pine Power is what I've been using to charge my USB laptop. So this Pine Power is coming off of, this power on this laptop is coming off the Pine Power. That's how I know it's giving 20 volts at 1.2 amps. Those little pocket-type computers have been perfect for interfacing with network racks. Yes! Those kind of things are. But let's put it this way. They're great for interfacing with network racks. Now imagine you have to type a long string of commands. That's when it gets unpleasant. I've been in that situation. I've been in the unpleasant situation where I had to SSH in from an Android device I had in my pocket because my laptop didn't work, and it was an unpleasant experience. Whereas this, I feel like if I were in the same situations where I were back in network closets and everything, I could at least whip this out, type everything I need, and then the advantage is I have a cell phone network to back up, just like a Samsung phone that I could do a lot of that with. And I'd have full Linux. It's going to take me probably a good week or two when I start using this regularly to get probably fully acclimated to the keyboard. But I'm already liking a lot of the things. Like, I do have to, like, get used to, like, the positioning of the spacebar and stuff. Wonder if you could run Windows on it. Probably. But the reality, the understanding, though, is, MNT is developing quite a few of the modules for this. So you're probably still going to want to use their version of Debian. Just to, have smooth sailing. That's not to say that people haven't figured out how to get this with the Linux that shall not be named, that is indicative of that your parents didn't love you enough. But you can. If you're wondering which distro that is, it begins with A, ends in H. I miss Expandables PCs. It does look, yeah, it is nice. It is a little bit expensive. I think, given that I spent a little over $1,000 for this laptop, and I'm probably going to end up spending a few $100s more for the upgrade down the line, and the aluminum backplate looks like it was about $120 for the upgrade for this, and the 4G modem was another $80. I'm probably close to being in the hole when I'm done with this laptop. Well, the PCB way thermal plate's probably going to be covered by them. I'm waiting for the email to come in, which will probably come in a couple of hours because they're running out of China. I'll probably be out of pocket, probably close to like $1,800, $1,900 altogether for this laptop, which is only a little bit cheaper than my more than capable Tuxedo computer coming out. But yeah, just being able to write expect scripts to automate system management on systems that can't be automated. Wait, what? Oh, the rugged 7012 I got with the vehicle mount desktop and KB. Thank you for the follow. Like Grok. Don't know why the alert didn't go off for that. The expansion card slots was 700. Yeah, but I admit that this device is a little bit more expensive. Now, to be fair, once I get the IMX8M Plus on here, it's probably going to be more than I need. The RK3588 is just more so I can improve the capabilities. That's merely why I want to do it. I may end up being happy enough with the IMX8M Plus when all is said and done, and not upgrade to the RK3588. We'll see. But I like the fact that this is fully right to repair, fully upgradable, fully open source. So, we shall see. It's definitely not a cheap device, but I think it's worthwhile for the mission and the philosophy that they're operating on. What's up, Bedrock? Yeah. Well, what laptop did you get, Draco? The 7212. Was that a Dell 7212? See, this is the issue I'm running into. You can feel how hot this hotspot is over there. Have you given your MNT laptop a name? Not exactly yet. I'll figure it out once I get the cover. You know what I might... I think I just figured out what I might call it, because it's going to have a fully purple cover and everything. I may call it, I'm deciding, either Prince or Purple Rain, but Rain spelled R-E-I-G-N. Dell Rugged 7212, and yes, I know I should have gotten the i7. Those Rugged books are great. I'm guessing you got that secondhand. Because those Rugged books ain't cheap. I've bought a few for clients. Those Rugged books are interesting. Like, they use them for United States geological surveys and stuff. Like, they test them to, like, be close to volcanic gases from volcanoes and stuff like that. It's really interesting, like, what all they're designed for. How they operate, too, because they're, like, sealed and it's really interesting. Guess I bought the whole kit for a steal from a fleet drop. Nice. I mean, hey, if I had someone offer me a decently, you know, recent Rugged book, I would even take up the offer, too. Because do you know how great it is to get a laptop that I can throw at somebody, give them a concussion, and still use that laptop? Shut up and take my money. And with Fedora and Dell Wacom pen, it's a beast for field planning. Oh, I bet. These Dell Rugged laptops for our techs who work in factories and repair big equipment. Dude, they're great, especially with a lot of the technicians. Like, people that do field work are rough on their devices. To be fair, like, you see the technicians that work in cable jobs and all that, and they have to bring up the laptop to do everything for the testing and everything. They genuinely don't give a shit about their electronics. They will throw their laptops around. They don't give a fuck. That's why tough books are amazing. The problem is, I just tend to baby my electronics. Whereas, like, tough books are designed for... Tough books are the equivalent of spit in the face, call me a whore, and slap my ass. Kind of, you know, computing. They are the kinky girlfriend of the relationship. It's getting an easy retirement. Well, kinda. I spoiled this thing, even upgraded the fan and replaced the thermals. Yeah, I've seen, like, some of the interesting tough books and how they've actually done, like, to seal them off. The thermal pipe was piped through some kind of, like, gasket or something like that, so the heat can escape the laptop, but the laptop itself remains sealed. It's really interesting how they work. Yeah. There's a lot of rubber. That's what she said!
Sorry, Miss Jackson.
Had a guy working on a cherry picker 20 feet up, and while the case had to be fixed, still worked like a champ. Yep. Oh, I've seen those things take absolute freaking hits. I wanted a MNT, not MNT, a tough book just to be able to, like, wave it around like a weapon. And be like, by the power of Linux, I am breaking your Windows! And still going to compute. But, yeah. Those Panasonic Tough books, they are something else. The Dell Tough books are seeming to take up a lot of the reputation. You don't see Panasonic anymore. What's my go-to Linux? Pop! OS is one of my main go-tos. Debian if I'm feeling fussy. Cubes OS if I'm feeling secure. Parrot OS if I'm tinkering with penetration testing stuff. They are expensive though. They definitely are. But nothing worth having in life is easy nor cheap. I'm just really happy with this laptop here. This is like kind of the laptop I've been wanting for years. And I remember when I saw this laptop, I was genuinely thinking of making a cyber deck. Like, I was going to go get a Pelican case, throw all the components in, and figure out how to cram it in, and do the cell modem and everything. I wasn't going to do a Raspberry Pi. I was going to get it probably like a Radha board or something like that. But, this definitely was a cooler option. But let me put it this way. If I go into an airport with a Pelican case of a computer, I want y'all to think about how that's going to play out at TSA. Body search. More like body cavity search. And I'm a top. That's no fun for me. The newest one I can see is with 7th gen Intel. So they've been around for a while. Any recommendations for an open source music player for both Linux and Win? You mean the software? I don't know of one that works on Windows and Linux, but in Windows, you've got Foobar and Winamp. On Linux, I like Rhythmbox. There's a few others out there. But Rhythmbox is nice. But yeah, Windows, Foobar, and Winamp are probably the two ones you're going to want to like. Yep, Winamp. Because we're whipping the llama's ass! Winamp, we're whipping the llama's ass. Do you have an environment setup or base tool set or dot files? No, a lot of my stuff is pretty basic, except for a few applications that I install on my stuff. I'm a pretty basic bitch these days. If it works, it works. Don't need that. I'm fancy in using Mix. I've through TSA with knives before. Only let me through because they're pen knives under 2-inch meant for opening packages or pairing food. I mean, kind of makes sense, but you could still stab somebody with them. Oh, sure, they'll let you in with a pen knife that's 2 inches long. But me with a water bottle? No! They completely forget, what was it, box cutters were 9/11? Hey, you can get a lot done with 2 inches. Yep. That's what she said.
Wasn't me.
Some pre-built arch, I am not up for torture, and portable Windows Mac containers on some diag boots. Yeah, everyone has their own little workflow. Except we all know Arch people just use Arch because their parents didn't give them enough attention, so now they have to erase their desktop off so that their desktop loves them back, or so they think.
Emotional, damn it!
Alright, well. God, what time is it? I like using Arch, but I also have Ubuntu and Windows. Yeah, well. I am starting to fade, guys, and I need to go to bed. It's about 11:30, so it was nice hanging out with all of you. And if you haven't already, make sure to follow me on all of my socials. I am on Twitch, TikTok, YouTube, Red Note, Blue Sky, Mastodon, and of course we have the Discord and Matrix servers as well if you want to hang out on there too. So don't forget to stick around for the raid if you are over on Twitch. What's something you look forward on the next DEF CON event? Meeting up with my friends, of course, and tinkering and drinks, and hopefully having the Renegade Penguin meetup with some more people. We'll figure that out if I make it out to DEF CON. Drinks, hang out, shooting at DEF CON shoot. But anyway, I will see you all Sunday for the next stream if you don't see me on Discord and stuff like that. But stick around for the raid on Twitch. I love y'all, and I will see you next time. Happy hacking, and stay safe out there.